Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is a joint committee meeting between our Education and Culture and Health and Human Services Committee. I'm joined by our Council President, who also chairs our Health and Human Services Committee, and Mr. President will actually be guiding us through the second part of our joint committee meeting, which is a briefing on newly arriving migrant and asylum-seeking children and families. But first, we're going to take up our Bill 42-21, which is Child Care, Early Care, and Education Coordinating Entity. And this is following up on a January 20th work session that we had that was also by the joint committees. Today, we're joined by a number of our partners across the spectrum. We have Dr. Raymond Kroll, who is the director of our Department of Health and Human Services, Ms. Joanne Barnes, who is the former lead for children, youth, and families for DHHS and is now a DHHS contractor, Dr. Barbara Andrews, the administrator for early childhood services within the Department of Health and Human Services, Sharon Friedman, who's the director of Montgomery Moving Forward, Susan Madden, who's also with Montgomery Moving Forward. I see that we have a number of other partners from Montgomery Moving Forward as well, including Kevin Beverly, Dana Edwards from Montgomery County Public Schools, and Kevin Beverly also with the Children's Opportunity Fund. Sorry, Kevin. And then we also have two of our board members that are joining us today from the Montgomery County Public Schools Board of Education, both Carla Silvestri as well as Lynn Harris. So I want to welcome our Board of Education members. Thank you so much for being with us today. And so I just wanted to level set where we are at this point, and I really want to thank my colleagues and all of our partners for a great meeting on January 20th, in which we identified some of the last follow-ups that we needed to conclude with when it came to really cementing this early care and education coordinating entity. And I, again, want to give kudos to all of my colleagues, especially ones like Councilmember Navarro, who have been at the forefront of really embarking on how it is that we're shaping early care and education for our community. It has been a long-standing effort. I really want to thank our partners with Montgomery County Public Schools, who also understand that it's not just in our private sector, but in our public sector that we need to understand ways in which we can continue to reach our children and set them up for success. That is what this entity is all about. And it really is an all-hands-on-deck approach, which is why I love Montgomery Moving Forward being a part of this to ensure that private sector plays a role. And understanding that workforce development is childhood development. It is making sure that we're taking care of our kids and our families, because that is important to companies that look to locate here, as well as those employees who need to live here, who need to still make sure that their families are well taken care of. And so from that perspective, I think that we really are on the right track and are moving forward and setting a great example, not only for this state, but for this nation in terms of how to address these issues that are pressing right now. You hear so many people talking about the global pandemic recovery and what it means to get people back to work. Well, many people understand that high quality access to high quality childcare that is affordable is something that is incredibly important to getting folks back to work. And so from that perspective, we are at the forefront when it comes to the recovery mission. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Yao and to Mr. Drummer to walk us through some of the key points that we identified from the last work session in terms of where we want it to be. We are expected, colleagues, to make some recommendations. I know that you've been able to see some of the items that staff has been able to put forth as decision points. And so it's my hope that we can dispense of this and then get this to our full council so that we can move forward with this. But again, really want to thank you, Mr. Drummer. I know you worked with Ms. Yao on some of this as well. Just really wanted to thank you so much for your great work. It's not easy in really navigating what is a brand new system and creating something that's going to be dynamic in terms of changing the paradigm, but certainly appreciate all of the great work that you've done. Let me turn it over to my co-chair and president of the council, for a few words, President Albornoz.
Thank you, Chairman Rice. Well, it's been an honor to be a co-lead on this with you and Councilmember Navarro with the support of all of our colleagues. Our three respective offices have been doing a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of really strong collaboration. So I do want to give all of them a shout out and, of course, working closely with Mr. Drummer and Ms. Yao. I think we've got a document that we can all be proud of and that we will be working through today. You laid it out perfectly in our last session, and I think we'll make those key decision points today and hopefully vote this out of committee and get it to full council so we can start the hard work of starting to put this into action, because we know it's really important and pressing right now. So Chairman Rice, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And so, Mr. Drummer, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. As you mentioned, this is the second work session, so I won't go over what the bill does. Last time we talked about the fiscal and economic impact. OMB estimated it at $600,000 a year, and the price is basically because you're designating a private nonprofit corporation to do some of this work, and they will need their own staff and funding. You also talked last time about the potential overlap with the existing Early Childhood Coordinating Council, and although no formal decision was made, it seemed like the sentiment was that's something you can deal with later. It doesn't have to be done in this bill. Then we moved on to the issue raised by the county attorney's office of a potential conflict of interest under the county ethics law. And you did approve an amendment, which is on the packet on page 5, and actually in the bill too, which would say that each member appointed from the public sector as an ex officio member represents the public interest and is not precluded from participating in a matter as a board member if that member's government employer is a party to the matter. So that takes care of that. Then we move up to where we kind of stopped was a discussion about the composition of the board of directors and the fact that we have the bill currently has a board with a majority of public sector ex officio members, 13 of the 25. There was some discussion of what the right number should be. 25 is rather large for a working board. And I think that's kind of where there was a lot of discussion back and forth about whether it should be smaller or we should reduce the number of ex officio. I'll point out just a couple of things to think about. In the bill itself, you've got the executive's early childhood education officer, which is actually an unfilled position that last time Dr. Krell asked or suggested that he would prefer that the law creating that position be repealed and allow him to use the funding for that position for a different position. That's not really part of this bill, but that may be a position you don't want to include in the board of directors since it doesn't really, it doesn't have an incumbent. You've also got 3 representatives from Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm not sure if we didn't really hear from them as to whether they think that's too many or not. If 1 from the board and 2 from MCPS, from the superintendent. Seems like a lot of people for them to be devoting to this. The same with HHS. I know this is within HHS's bailiwick, but 4 of their employees from DHHS seems like could be a little more than you need. OMB, how much OMB really wants to be involved in this, I don't know. So those are just some things to think about. I know there was some suggestions about from the county executive of having some low-income parents on the board. You do have parents, whether you need to specify if you specify low income, you need to define what you mean by that. You need to keep in mind, or you should keep in mind, that these are directory on the executive. Of course, the council has to confirm whoever the executive appoints. but without saying low income, it doesn't mean the executive isn't going to pick a couple, some parents who happen to be low income. Just a point of clarification. It's not mandatory, because really in legislation, the executive does have the authority to make the appointments. The council can say no, and in confirmation, but that's why the bill says should appoint these members and not must.
Well,
So maybe I should stop there and let the discussion continue on the composition of the board.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Drummer. You did a great job of laying this out. And I think that, again, you also put up some great alternatives. So, colleagues, I'm just going to start. And if you'd like to text me, or you can use the raise hand feature, this shouldn't be too formal in terms of this discussion in general about where we are. We shouldn't be that far off. But some of the recommendations I might make are getting us from 25 to 21. I know that Council Vice President had actually preferred us to go a little bit lower than that, but this still gives us the ability to have a smaller board while at the same time making sure that we're getting all of the folks that we need to hear from who are partners and collaborators all together in the same room at the same table. And so with that, I'd recommend us eliminating the executive's early childhood education officer. As you heard from Mr. Drummer, that's an unfilled position. We also have the Board of Education and MCPS have 3 representatives. I'd like to make that 2. One that would be brought in by the Board of Education and one by MCPS, or they can delegate how they'd like to have those 2 positions. But I think that having 2 reps identified together between the 2 entities makes sense. The current coordinator is actually a position that is temporary. It is not something that is longstanding, and this is deemed a longstanding entity. And we already have representation from the county executive with which the current coordinator sits. Then that's certainly something that we need to be mindful of. So those are 3 positions right there that I'd recommend that we look at. And then, as you heard from Mr. Drummer, also DHHS currently has 4 positions. We can reduce that to 3. Still gives ample representation from DHHS. Does not tie the hands of them in terms of their input, but at the same time, certainly lowers the number that's on the board. And then I do agree that some sort of language clarification, and it doesn't have to be specific. We don't have to get into whether it's free and reduced meals. We know that that's one way in which we can identify, but we know so many people who don't fill out the forms that truly are still low income, might be missed or overlooked. And so from that perspective, having the guidance, and I think the trust that the council, as folks are nominated and then sent over, would be ones that would need to adhere to what our expectations are of what that means. Because if we get tied up in a definition here and then we find a candidate who's really good, we may lose out on that. So I think that for us, just having it speak to them being at least 2 of the parents being representative of our low income or socioeconomically disadvantaged communities, something along those lines, I think would suffice. So I'm just putting that out there for discussion at this point to get it started, and I'll turn over to my co-chair, Council President Albornoz, to begin.
Thank you, Chairman Rice. I concur with all of your recommendations, and I appreciate the thoughtful feedback that we've received, not just internally within our offices, but from key stakeholders as well. I think reducing the number from 25 to 21 does make it more manageable. Having 9 public sector and 12 private sector representatives is important to keep this body nimble. And I know that those 9 public sector representatives will do a great job reporting back to their respective agencies and organizations, and will be able to duly ensure that those voices are heard and that we provide that nice public-private partnership, which I think is really going to elevate things further. So, and I concur with how you laid out specifically how to reduce from 25 to 21, but I think all of that makes a lot of sense. So after discussion, I'd be happy to second a formal motion if you'd like to make one.
Well, I'd like to take yours as the motion, as I'm presiding as the chair, then that'll be so. So thank you for that. Let me turn to Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. I mean, I would second that. I just wanted to clarify. So is this this is not different from what's in the packet that was worked out by the three offices, correct? Okay. I didn't know if this was a specific amendment from Council Chairman Rice, or if this was something that this is what's included in the packet, because I agree with that.
There's nothing in the packet on this.
There isn't? Okay.
No, because the staff wasn't going to make recommendations, and so that's the reason why I brought this up. This is what is reflective of what was discussed.
It's in my notes, so I guess maybe
yes.
Okay, maybe I misspoke. It's in my notes that that our office staff got together and and recommended the reduction to 21, and then these. Okay, I got it. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So absolutely, I second that because it sounded very familiar. I just want to make sure that this is what had been discussed. And I agree. I think that this is very doable. And given that this is our first, time doing this, et cetera, it makes a lot of sense. And I want to thank the staff from our offices and Ms. Yao and Mr. Drummer for having come together to work on these particular kinds of amendments. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your partnership, Councilmember Navarro. Council Vice President Glass.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm glad to say this is a terrific example of the legislative process in action, right? The three of you all came together to help, shepherd this innovative and creative proposal, and we continue tweaking it. And the feedback that we all provided last meeting, I'm glad to see that reflected in the amendment. And I too had expressed some concerns over a large, unmanageable board and then trying to dictate the management thereof. And so I think this provides the flexibility, the nimbleness, and it allows the board members to work within what they think is best practices to move us all forward. But to that end, I had seen Mr. Beverly's hand up, and so before I said I would vote for this amendment, I would love to hear from Mr. Beverly and Ms. Friedman or anybody else with regard to this amendment.
Mr. Beverly?
Yeah.
So I appreciate what the council has gone through to come to this. It's in my mind, it's still a little larger than I'd like to see, but I appreciate the compromise, understanding how that part works, and I think getting it to a solution where, as Mr. Councilmember Albanaz has said, that there are some very responsible private sector folks out there who I think are truly looking forward to participating in this in a way that they haven't done historically. And I think that goes a long way to creating a really, really strong environment for this entity to be successful.
And I would add to that, yay, this is so exciting. And I do think that this amendment, really gives credence to what I believe you all have hoped to happen all along, which is a true private-public sector partnership. I also just do want to take a moment, though, to thank publicly Ms. Navarro, Mr. Rice, and Mr. Albanaz's staff. They have been amazing all along the way. There is no way that all the detail would have been innovated and gotten to this point. They not only looked at the internal observations and desires of council, but they were very inclusive of community and community voice as well. And it's unusual to see that kind of a process play out. And given Montgomery moving forward's collective impact, cross-sector work, I would say that this legislation is a true manifestation of that. So we thank you. And of course, Mr. Drummer, who dealt with the technicalities, and Ms. Yao, who is a member of the MMF leadership group, we thank you also.
Well, excellent. That is the vote of confidence I was looking for. Appreciate my colleagues working on this amendment and all staff. And now that now that our stakeholders are supportive, we're all going to hold hands and move forward together. So I look forward to voting for this in the final bill. And thank you to my three colleagues for leading this effort.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Glass. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you. Mr. Drummer, just on the point you brought up about we can't dictate, we can't make the should a must. Is that what I heard you say on the low income?
You can make the should a must on any of the appointments because it's the executive's authority to appoint it. But
You
in
don't
practice, you can because you can reject people until he appoints who you want.
Right.
That's a lawyer's distinction, but I am a lawyer. You know, but so are you. But it's simply you can't say he must appoint this person because then he's not appointing anybody.
I appreciate it. I was just using the tactic of you answering the question I wanted you to answer so people would understand that we couldn't do that. And then to the public members, the private members, two of the parents are considered private members for these purposes, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into it, and I'm fine with it as well. Thank you.
Colleagues, let me just say again, thank you. This was one of the hardest parts that we had to determine. And so I really want to, as you heard, thank all of our staff, but every single one of you, because this took a lot of understanding and collaboration. I did want to, because our partners are here with us, give an opportunity. I know, Ms. Treadvance, you were on the call with us before when we asked and posed the question about the reduction from 3 to 2. You've got 2 of your board members that are here as well. I don't want to usurp them by asking you first, but do certainly want to, since you were on the call before, and I'm sure have had an opportunity to discuss what NCPS's position is on the switch from the 3 to 2 members.
Am I up? Okay.
Yep, you're up.
Thank you. First and foremost, I know this was by no means an easy endeavor to do and to figure out the formula on how to equitably still distribute the seats in the board to ensure that all voices are represented. And I think you did a fantastic job. So no objections from our end. It is still a pretty large board. So just figuring out, I guess, internal policies in terms of building consensus and agreement will be just the place where we focus, because I think we will definitely, there will be a lot of different voices, a lot of different opinions. And I know this was no easy endeavor, but I think you've managed to find a nice solution. So nothing on our end.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I'm looking to see if any other hands are raised. I don't see any. So colleagues, we have before us a motion and a second. It was moved by Councilmember Albornoz and seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Is there any objection to the amended 21-person board with representation that was laid out previously? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Drummer, thank you again. And we are on to our next item, dealing with ethics. Oh, you're muted, Mr. Drummer.
Gotta remember that. All right, so the next item, well, we talked about the RFP process, not really possible. We talked about the racial equity. I think the next issue is in the bill itself, there was a sentence, and I'll read it out loud, that the executive must not appoint a member of a governing board or employee of an organization that receives county or state funds directed through the early care and education coordinating entity. And there was discussion last time whether that should be an absolute prohibition or should it be left up to just a requirement that the person, that a person who is a board member or an employee of an organization seeking a grant recuse themselves from any participation in that matter. I will just say this, that the board member, if there are grants going out to organizations like an organization that a board member is a a board member of the organization or an employee, they would probably have to recuse themselves from the whole process, not just the award of a grant to their organization, because grants, there's only a limited amount of money. So what goes to other people doesn't go to the next person. You probably would have to recuse themselves from the whole thing, but you simply could leave that up to the ethics of the board and not put the prescription here. So those are your choices. I mean, the person would have to recuse themselves if in fact they're appointed, but it doesn't have to be in the bill this way.
So, and I see, Mr. President, you have your hand up, but there was a suggestion that we eliminate the language on lines 86 through 88, one of the options outlined by Mr. Drummer. Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we should eliminate that language. I think we should rely on what is already written within the ethics language, which I think is reasonable. And to Mr. Drummer's point, clearly, this will be a dedicated group of professionals who will make the determination, especially those specifically who will likely find themselves or may find themselves in this situation. But to ensure that the right people in the room as these policy decisions are being made, it's paramount that we have people who are directly on the ground being at the table with an opportunity to weigh in formally. And then give them the opportunity to recuse themselves through, the grant-making process. But because this body will be so important in helping to guide system building, policy making, policy recommendations, it's important to have those voices at the table. So I would like to move that we eliminate, let me make sure I have this right, lines 86 through 88, and instead rely on the ethics language which addresses conflict of interest issue in lines 124 through 140.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair, you put yourself on mute.
Sorry. Embarrassing. So, all right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the removal of those lines 86 through 88? Seeing none, is there any objection to that motion? And I see none as well. All right. Mr. Drummer, back to you.
Okay, I believe the last issue that I have in the packet is what I would call the 3-quarterback system. Again, you don't really have to tell this nonprofit organization how many leaders they need to pick. The standard is a chair and vice chair. You've got here 3 co-chairs. Not really sure how that works in practice. But that's a, decision you need to make, whether you want to leave that as 3 co-chairs, take it out completely, or put in must appoint a chair and a vice chair.
Excellent. I'm going to turn to Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Navarro?
Thank you. So I know staff also worked on this, and one of the recommendations they sent us was to remove language that specifies 3 co-chairs and instead state that the board must elect a chair and vice chair, and therefore you leave up to the board to determine leadership, and the bylaws can address any balance of public versus private representation and leadership. So I would like to move that we remove the language and just that specifies the 3 co-chairs, and instead include that the board must elect a chair and vice chair.
Second.
Sir. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this one? This was another one that I think it was very clear amongst all of us in the previous discussion that we felt as though that structure, while we wanted to enact fairness in terms of everyone having a turn, we felt as though the board, certainly as you heard from Council President Albornoz and many others have espoused about the professionals that are going to be a part of this board, we expect there to be that understanding of making sure that everyone always has a voice at the table and has opportunities to lead. So I don't see anyone with their hand up on this one. And so, I'm sorry, Councilmember Juando, I apologize.
That's all right. Just so I'm clear on, so this would just allow the board to choose among themselves the chair and the vice chair, right?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, any objections to that? If not, that is unanimous. Mr. Drummer?
That's all the issues that I think I have in my notes that are left over. I don't know if I'm missing something or if someone else wants to propose any other changes.
Well, I'll certainly leave that open to my colleagues for any other suggestions, comments, concerns that you may have at this point. And then I'm going to turn to folks for final comments, but did just want to make sure that we dispensed of any amendments first. Mr. Beverly.
So there's a point of clarification, one that Mr. Drummer spoke to earlier in his introduction regarding the different entities that exist that have a stake in the early care and education components that are currently engaged. And I listened intently last time and was trying to get my head around all of the different parts that you were considering there in the ECCC. And so I went back because there were early days of when I was engaged in trying to understand this ecosystem. And we did a matrix back then to look at all of the stakeholders, not only in the early child care space, but across the spectrum of education and where we touch children in general. And there were many. It was a giant spaghetti chart that I think a lot of us to this day still struggle with how they all come together to be at the benefit of the students and young people who they represent and advocate for. But as I went through that, I went back and looked at some of the organizations, and there were a few that I think we named earlier, the Collaboration Council, the HCCC, but there's another that, and a couple others actually, that rise to the level of, I think, as we think about how we understand what they're doing and create opportunities for all to contribute in a reasonable manner, because I think they've all done work and I think should be credited with the contributions that they've made. But there's the two that stuck out to me were the Council on Children, Youth, and Families, which I didn't get a lot of information on, and then the Early Care and Education Steering Committee, the ECEI, and of course I'm still trying to understand what all they do, but I think as a part of what we come out of this with is at least have a way to understand what they all do and what their contributions are and where the intersections are, so that we allow the entity and these organizations, if they continue to exist, to coexist in a way that really does protect the integrity of the ecosystem that you're trying to create, not the former of where we're trying to move from. So again, I just put that out there as a point of clarification as to what I could glean from the data I could get my hands on. And again, I say that as a representative of MMF, going back and trying to understand when we were looking at all this data and all these components and how they were helpful or not.
Yeah, Mr. Beverly, I think one of the first priorities is going to be to conduct that comprehensive review, looking at all of the ECE entities and making sure that we can understand where there might be potential reorganization, realignment, just to make sure that we're bringing it all together in terms of us firing on all cylinders, dotting all I's and crossing all T's. And so, the entity should certainly be the one that conducts this review. You'll have folks that are maybe members of some of these organizations that are out there actively engaged in this work. Nonetheless, it will give an opportunity for us with some of the best and brightest minds around this to really think about what the next steps for us moving forward are. And as I alluded to before, we already have before us, and MCPS knows this all too well, the Blueprint for Education recommendations that deal specifically with early care and education within the public sector. And so there's got to be so much alignment in terms of what's there on both sides of the issue and working in partnership, right? Because part of MCPS's charge will be to work in partnership with these non-public entities to make sure that the Blueprint responsibilities are carried out. So from that standpoint, it just makes perfect sense. So I couldn't agree more. I think that's first and foremost. That should be day one. What's the playing field, right? And then start to put those pieces together, building that spaghetti chart, if you will, to how things are connected and figure out if there are efficiencies that we might be able to get out of restructuring, reorganizing, supporting, building, all of those things, right? So I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's incredibly important.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Any other comments, questions, suggestions? Ms. Friedman.
Yeah, I just wanted to concur, Mr. Rice, with what you just said. If you look at one of the most important characteristics of the entity, it speaks to the entity being that neutral convener and taking a 360-degree view of people, programs, policies, and pots of money. And so, as you say, certainly one of the first, if not the first, obligation of the entity is to determine what is out there in the early care and education space and figure out how it all works together. And just to say, because I think this is important, we in Montgomery County are blessed because we have so many cheerleaders and activists in the early care and education space. And I could certainly point to achievements of all of the groups that have been listed today in moving things forward. But we'll get the most bang for our buck if we figure out, or the entity, I should say, figures out how we make the best use of scarce resources within the early care and education space. So thank you.
Excellent. No, thank you very much, Ms. Friedman. So I'm going to turn to colleagues first for any closing remarks before we take the final vote. So I'm going to turn, I've got Councilmember Navarro, followed by Co-Chair Albornoz, and then other colleagues, just please text me. So Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. So in Spanish, there's a saying that says, el tiempo de Dios es perfecto, which means that, the universe really aligns. And I honestly can't think of a more important example of that at this particular moment, because even though we did start working on this a long time ago, the fact that now is when everything is coming together is so critical because, I continue to say it publicly, I firmly believe that everything that we have known has absolutely changed permanently. But the changes that we were projecting, 5 years ago are actually here. The pandemic has definitely been an accelerator. And that means that we really do need to seriously begin, we need to start the really hard work of realigning, rethinking, modifying, leveraging, scaling up, really, truly just all of that conversations we've always had, and we've had to do it incrementally. Now we just need to go and do it. And this particular piece is going to be so critical. We really don't know what will happen. I mean, we have a lot of discussions about the blueprint, and it's going to be so important. We need to acknowledge that things on the ground have changed. And so as we go forward, we have to rely on these kinds of groundbreaking structures that now are going to be a hub to innovate, to do things differently, to respond very quickly and very nimble. This to me is a major example of that. And so, Mr. Beverly, I appreciate what you just said as well. That work that you were just discussing, we have no choice but to do that. The forces on the ground are definitely, in my opinion, just kind of pushing everybody to do that. We don't have a choice anymore. And so I have to say that I absolutely believe that the universe just aligned perfectly for this particular moment, because what is coming is going to be critical in terms of how we catch up with all of the issues, the learning loss, the economic impact, the way we define work. All of this is just kind of together now, and it's going to require these types of partnerships in order for us to get where we need to go. So, so I'm thrilled that that we've arrived in this moment, and that very soon we'll be able to vote this out of the council, and that then the work can start to reimagine and rethink the way we deliver services in this very important space in Montgomery County, and hopefully the state and then the nation. I mean, it's just going to require that kind of leadership and that kind of innovative, bold innovation. So thank you all of you. Each and every one of you has been carrying this water for a long time, and now it's come together beautifully. And I know that our families and our children are going to benefit greatly going forward because of this moment. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. Mr. Co-Chair, Mr. President, Councilmember Albornoz.
Well, I can't say it any better, so I'm not even going to try. I'm going to yield to Councilmember Navarro to make this motion, and I look forward to seconding it.
I've got Councilmember Glass, followed by Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I too agree that Councilwoman Navarro said it very eloquently. And again, I appreciate her leadership and the two other co-chairs, President Albornoz and Chair Rice, for leading this effort and for all the partners. As was noted, I know how long you all have been working on it, and it has been a long time. And this effort will proceed some of my colleagues' service on this council, but I look forward to receiving updates, to seeing how this works, and making sure that it serves all of our families and all of our youth here in Montgomery County. So my heartfelt appreciation to everybody who led this effort, and it is going to be an incredible legacy to all of you. So I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you. I'm excited. I remember when we stood up, and one of the first things we did and announced the start of this investment with then Council President Navarro and County Executive. And now that we're going to have this entity to continue the work, hopefully this will continue to put us on the map to both federal and state policymakers as we seek to prioritize early childhood education in a universal way, like so many other countries have done, and we've been lagging for a long time. And this will, I think, put us on a good path to supporting all of our children and families, and by doing so, supporting our community. So appreciate all the work that's gone into this, and excited for what is to come out of the recommendations and the future investments that we'll be able to make on this council. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Jawando, and you teed it up perfectly, because as we are about to embark on our National Association of Counties Legislative Conference later on towards the end of this week and the beginning of next, I plan to tout Montgomery County and what we've done here. Truly is a model, and it's representative of so many things that we do here, and it's a testament to each and every one of you that's on the call, all of my colleagues on the council, all of our partners in both private sector as well as in public sector, who continue to crusade each and every day for the betterment of our community, for those who oftentimes need the help. That's what it boils down to. And, you know, as I reflect on the end of my 12 years here, I look to things like this as highlights of the great accomplishments that we continue to do to further our community and make sure that we live up to the notion of helping everyone to be successful. That's what this is all about. And so I just cannot thank you guys enough for all that you have done and all that you've contributed to make this happen. And I just want to send a special shout out to my Chief of Staff, Sharon Ledner, my Deputy Chief of Staff, Kristen Tribble, for all the great work that they've done working in conjunction with all of your staffs to make this happen. I mean, this truly is a collective effort. And I'm just telling you right now, anyone who is, and I'm gonna probably get myself in trouble, but anyone who's thinking about, offices that folks are running for, this is the reason why you vote for people, because they do great work like this. And so all my colleagues that are running for re-election and those that are running for other offices, that's why you support people, because they do good work. They do good things. for our community. And so that's what it should really always be about. So with that, I am going to open for a motion on the overarching bill. Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, I enthusiastically would like to move that we adopt this bill as amended and send it over to full council so that we can vote on it.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilmember Navarro, seconded by Council President. We'll go ahead and raise hands for this one. All in favor, please raise your hands. And that is unanimous. Congratulations, guys. Thank you so much. Mr. Council President, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you.
For our next.
Well, thank you, Chairman Rice. And I think this is connected to our second conversation. And I do want to really acknowledge and thank the great work of our Department of Health and Human Services working with Montgomery County Public Schools, our nonprofit organizations and stakeholders. We're going to receive an update today on the great work that's been done on the ground to support our newly arriving members of our community who are more often than not seeking asylum, but in every case, fleeing violence, fleeing climate change, fleeing extreme poverty and economic situations that are difficult for all of us to fully be able to comprehend and imagine. And I often think what I would do as a father and as somebody in a situation like that, and I would, just as any of us on this call would do, anything to support our families, whatever that meant. So we know that things continue to be challenging at the border. We know that things continue to be challenging in the countries of origin of so many of our residents. And we know there are challenges here on top of everything else we've been having to deal with. So I do want to give a lot of credit to everybody and their hard work. And I do want to acknowledge, as Chairman Rice said earlier, we have two members of our Board of Education here, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to weigh in and make some comments. But before I do that, I'd like to see if any of my colleagues would like to make comments before we formally introduce the speakers for this topic this afternoon. So colleagues, just let me know if you'd like to speak to the current situation. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think that, there are, as you said, there are just so many dots that we are connecting and so many themes here that are absolutely connected. This particular topic is one that, for as long as I've been in office, since 2004, first member of the Board of Education, and then since 2009, member of the County Council, this particular issue is one that this county has always addressed and embraced, and always has sought to find the most dignified, humane way to address the needs of our newcomers. And there is a long history of the different kinds of services, interventions, structures, models, work groups that have come together, which have had an impact on not just county government's particular initiatives and delivery services, but also from MCPS. There was a time when a lot of the programs that now we're very used to and kind of take for granted sometimes didn't exist. But it was very important because so many of us could see how this continuation of particular instability in the countries of origin for such a long time, concentrated in Central America. But now we are also seeing how we also are having people coming in from countries like Venezuela, which is the country I was born and lived there for 15 years of my life. And we understand that there is a very important connection between what happens in our own hemisphere and then how people search to find dignified ways to survive coming to this country. This region has always been a region that has been characterized by being welcoming. And there are a lot of networks where people seek refuge. But the truth of the matter is that it has always been, in my opinion, a patchwork and somewhat piecemeal. And this has major consequences for us in this county. It has major consequences for the school system because it is not easy especially for our teachers, especially for our staff, to be able to integrate everyone. And so I think that it is really important that we are here to have this conversation. It is not, I think, news that some of us have for a long time talked about, whether we should look at models that have actual newcomer schools where things are centrally, located, where there is a wraparound holistic approach versus having a lot of different, piecemeal sort of interventions here and there. I firmly believe that we have reached that point where we should be looking at what other jurisdictions have done and really do this in a much more holistic fashion, a much more dignified fashion, with the kind of capacity and resources that are needed versus spreading everything so thin that we never get to the results that we're looking for. So I do hope that we do get there. I'm proud of so many of you who are here today because you've just done extraordinary things in the community, family strengthening, making sure that, that trauma that we see, that is addressed, human trafficking. There's just so many components to this that I know so many of you have worked on. I know that there's so much more work to do. So I do, from my heart, want to thank all of you for that dedication to getting this done. And again, I do hope that we could, just similarly to what we did with the early care and education, which took a while to get to this comprehensive approach. I just want us to also do that in this space once and for all, and own that this is something of importance, and perhaps think about that more comprehensive, more holistic, approach, more centralized approach to support not just newcomers, but also the families as well. So with that, Mr. President, I also want to say that I want to thank you because you hit the ground running. I know that you've done a lot of this work in your capacity as the director of the Department of Recreation, but now as a council member and chair of HHS, you've also taken this on, and that makes me feel great since I'm leaving this year, that you will continue to be a voice with all our colleagues in this space. Thank you.
Thanks. You really, honestly, you're never going to know how much that means to me. Chairman Rice.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you to Councilmember Navarro. I couldn't agree more, and I just want to just say very quickly that people need to understand, who may be watching this, about why newly arriving residents matter so much, because we need them. As a part of our community, we need new residents. We need that new lifeblood, that new voice, that new presence in our community. That's important for healthy communities all across the board. New residents fill job openings, they pay taxes, they go to our schools, spend money in the local economy. They keep our communities alive. And they bring fresh new ideas when oftentimes coming from other places that can help us to think about things differently than we've thought about them. Those are just the simple ways in which folks who are coming to this country can help local communities. And so it's just interesting that we spend a lot of time talking about attracting people to the area. And we have people who come here to the area and we're not doing everything we can to support them. And we need to step that up. And by we, I mean collective we. The folks who are on this call, the folks who are here, are the ones who are continuing to figure out ways to innovate and support folks that are coming into our communities. But the reality is that we have folks that don't. And they don't understand how they're actually standing in the way of progress for us as a community. We've always talked about diversity as strength, but never been strong enough to tell people that by them standing in the way of supporting diversity, they're standing in the way of progress for our communities. So those who want to see Montgomery County fail, stand in the way of embracing our immigrant, migrant, newcomer populations. If you want to see us have high crime rates, if you want to see us have challenges when it comes to employment and workforce development, stand in the way of immigration and supporting folks that are coming into our communities. But if you want to be in a vibrant, an amazing place like Montgomery County has touted and has continued to be for our residents, stand with us in supporting these folks who are coming into our communities, because they're going to help us in our overall goal of what it is that we're trying to achieve. It really is truly just that basic. And so I look forward to this conversation today. An educated community is one of the best communities. And so, of course, having all of our children have access to high quality education is something that benefits each and every one of us. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Rice. So in a moment, we're going to receive a presentation from Ms. Sonia Mota and Ms. Treadvance to talk about where we are and where things stand with this initiative. But before we do that, we do have two colleagues here from the Board of Education. I'd like to turn it over to them to say a few words. I want to start with Board of Education Vice President Carla Silvestre.
Good afternoon, President Albornoz and council members and partners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. As has been stated, this is a close collaboration between the school system, the community, and county government. And to reiterate what has been said already, these are our neighbors. And so once they go through this onboarding process, how do you want them to be? Do you want them to hit the ground running and thrive and graduate and go to Montgomery College and other colleges? Or do you want them to stick around and struggle and try to continue to try to survive? I think the first is how we want them. We want them to thrive, hit the ground running, and be active members of our community. I always go back to the data. If we keep doing what we've been doing, this population will graduate at a 50% rate from our school system. When you look around the Newcomer conference that Luis Cardona hosted, 1 of every 2 of those young, beautiful people are not going to graduate from our schools if we continue to do what we've always done. And so this is a huge opportunity to change what we've always done for the better, to change the lives of these young people. And I believe that with the attention that we're giving it, with the resources and all the brain and people power and passion that we have on this Zoom, we can certainly achieve it. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Education Vice President Silvestre. And I now want to turn it over to Board of Education Harris. And I also want to give her public credit. She was the one that connected us to Ms. Gillian Huebner, who helped launch this effort in cooperation with Ms. Barnes and HHS. So thank you so much, Ms. Harris, for making that connection. It was obviously immensely helpful, and Gillian did just as you said she would, a really fantastic job. So Ms. Harris.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to publicly thank Council Members Rice and Albornoz and Navarro for your passionate understanding of why this work is so important. Because I think what we are all realizing, or should be realizing, is that what our newcomers bring to us is so much added value. Their resilience, their capacity for embracing change and surviving against, the kinds of obstacles that many of us can't really even imagine. And as a former MCPS teacher who had newcomers and students who came to us from difficult paths, I know how much they bring. And to the extent that we don't do everything we can to help them achieve their potential, every single piece of their potential we lose is a loss to all of us. And so, just speaking for me personally, I am so grateful to see the partnership developing between the county and the county partners and MCPS, because as Ms. Silvestre said, MCPS can't keep doing what we've always done to serve this population of students and families, because what we are learning is there are better ways to serve newcomers, make them welcome, and provide them the resources they need to feel safe, welcome, and valued here in our community. So everything we can possibly do to make sure that in our schools, we're providing our newcomer families and our newcomer students the resources they need to feel that our schools are offering something of value to them is good. And the school system, we can't provide all of the services and resources they need. Well, realizing that many, not all, but many of our newcomer students are almost always being immediately placed into removal proceedings. And so they need to have legal services easily accessible to them so that they aren't always being pulled out of our educational spaces just to deal with the things that make them feel that they're not able to meet their family's needs and their own needs of survival. And so whatever we can do to make services they need available in our school system in collaboration with our very, very valuable county partners, then we're doing more to bring all of those really energetic and resilient individuals and their families into our county and into our communities to share with us all the value that they bring. So everything we can do to do things differently, to embrace best practices that we see from around the country, and to make, to really, really energize the partnership between the county and the school system to serve these students and their families better. That is what we need to do. And I'm just so grateful that we are at a place where we can have this conversation, because it's a bit overdue, but incredibly valuable.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for those important words. So before we turn it over to Ms. Mora and Ms. Treadvance, we are going to hear from Mr. Monteleone, Mr. Davis, representing our school system.
Thank you very much. I'm Damon Monteleone, Assistant Chief of Teaching, Learning, and Schools. It's an honor to be here today before County Council and all the members of the community to share some updates. Just as you remember, certainly we faced some unprecedented challenges coming out of the pandemic in the fall. And I'm really proud of the team, Margarita and Everett and the entire team that's here. We learned quickly as to what upgrades needed to be made. We implemented those. We brought on new staff. And as we were able to move more quickly through the process and get the students the services and the connections they needed, we were able to really move through that period. And some of the key learnings that we took out of that entire time period are being applied in terms of technology, in terms of additional staffing, in terms of centering many resources in one place, and also a vision for the Welcome Center that we've heard folks speak of here today. So I can't wait to hear our folks share with you the work that we've done and what we have ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, did you want to add anything before we turn it over to the presentations?
Just thank you for the opportunity to be here. I will interject once I have an opportunity, once we get into the presentation, so I don't want to delay our progress anymore. But again, thank you for the opportunity this afternoon. Truly appreciate that.
Great. And I do want to publicly acknowledge Ms. McMillan, who unfortunately is going to be leaving us soon, but did once again an incredible job putting this packet together. And she's done a lot of heavy lifting in this space for a very long time. So Ms. McMillan, it will be an appropriate time for us to thank you more thoughtfully, but there won't be enough times for us to thank you because you've been amazing. With that, I now turn it over to, and this is exciting, Ms. Sonia Mora, who as an Assistant Chief Administrative Officer has been in this space for a long time, but has now been elevated within the administration. I think this is at least one of the first, presentations that I've been part of since she has joined in this new role. We're very excited to see her, and we are also very excited to see Ms. Treadvance, whose approval before this body was appointment viewing, and one of the best presentations I've ever seen in 16 years in county government. So I turn it over to both of you. I know we're in very good hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Council President Albornoz and members of the council. Yes, I am so excited to be here to open this, and I will be brief, where we're doing an update on the welcome. We are here for you. Bienvenidos. Estamos para ti, aquí para ti initiative. So yes, indeed, this is my first official engagement with the joint committees as in my new role as ACAO here in the Office of the Council of the County Executive. So it is a pleasure, and I couldn't be happier about the topic that we're about to discuss, because as an immigrant, the whole issue of the integration of new Americans is very dear and close to my heart. So it feels really, really wonderful and exciting that we're talking about this, which is one of the pieces of work that I've been doing for a very long time here in Montgomery County. So basically during the session, you will be receiving an update on the initiative. It has been amazing to see all the people that have come together and work to put together this new initiative. And you will be hearing about the strides that have been made in a short period of time in our efforts to support the group of newcomers so that they can thrive and better integrate into the fabric of Montgomery County. And the Bienvenidos initiative, as you know, is accomplished through different ways. One of them is leveraging existing partnerships, but also identifying mechanisms and other resources to be able to accomplish our goal. One of the things that I wanted to share with you today is a new partnership that we're building with Montgomery College. I know Desi Mejia will be talking about this a bit later, which in essence is gonna allow us to support those individuals that are interested in going in higher education and who want to be involved in other workforce activities. So that's something that we just started recently, and I am so grateful to the college and the Office of Community Engagement for assisting us with this. So in closing, I just want to thank everyone for their support, the council. I want to give a big shout out to all the partners that we have, all the people that are working so hard to make sure that this program is going to continue. It's just starting. But in essence, and as Council Member Navarro was saying, it is going to be important to continue to develop a holistic and integrated approach to ensure that these newcomers are fully integrated and they can benefit from all the opportunities that we have in this wonderful county. So I also have the pleasure of introducing our dynamic Chief of Children, Youth, and Families. So Ms. Dira Chetmans, who's going to give us a few remarks and open the presentation for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonia. I feel myself bubbling up. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone. It's such a, as I heard everyone speaking, I'm like, I feel like a doula going into different birthing rooms I wasn't a part of inception, but I get to see the birth of some of these phenomenal initiatives. And it's truly beautiful to be here and to be in the room and to be able to add value. This is equity. This is social equity. And from everything that I heard before earlier, this population adds so much value that can't be quantified. The social value of what it means to us as individuals. This is a beautiful, diverse council, a beautiful, diverse community. All of us left home, all of us that were not born here, we left home for reasons because of many different reasons and a lot of structural inequities that existed in our own countries. So when we have newcomers coming in, they remind us of home and the value that they give to us, I think, to help us combat our own trauma, to help bring a slice of the home that we oftentimes had to flee and leave for reasons that are unbeknownst to us or reasons that folks might not have necessarily wanted to. That adds so much social value and really helps us build community cohesion in the county. So it's beautiful to be a part of this. And I have spent a lot of time during the last few weeks here engaged in this work that this wonderful initiative and the steering committee has led, from communications to positive youth development and case management navigation. And it has provided me a great opportunity to both to work with both Health and Human Services professionals, our partners at MCPS, and other amazing community partners. I hope that you will be pleased with the update and are as excited as we are about the tools that this phenomenal group has developed to reach unaccompanied minors and their families and their sponsors as well. And as you will see, we are going to open up next with a video. We are being very intentional in addressing the Mayan community particularly, but this work by no means is a fixed product. This is just our starting point. And as we continue to apply and operationalize an equity lens, it will continue to evolve as we design an equitable and safe system for all individuals and families in our county with an immigrant background, regardless of their country of origin or of their immigration status. So with that, I invite you to view the 2 wonderful communications video our team has put together to kick off this fantastic initiative. Thank you all for your time.
Ajá, Rosa, ¿y cómo te sientes en la ciudad?
Pues más o menos. Hay muchas cosas que aún no entiendo.
Tranquila, todos pasamos por eso. Pero no estás sola. El programa Bienvenidos te ayuda a encontrar servicios médicos, legales y programas de asistencia. Ellos están aquí para ti.
¿En serio? ¿Y dónde puedo encontrar más información?
Llama a la línea de ayuda al 301-270-8432.
Utsipitik wachalal, we atnavishat pitik parihuntinamit Montgomery ubi, conjunto anil shawe ubi, programa Utsipitik. Okatutocheli hastak rahaushik, wenekawahun konanel, hun katwalsir o hun hastak, aliwachalal re común, arekarach katutu. Okakacheli ala shik kate ishbinakcheli hun kaktinamit. Shiguhe karach nik wak lap, rahaushikurakli has uskumlik aslemalwaral. Okawaral, chekatutu, benaba hun pishpari, agil vol 301-270-8432. Kawilawip.
Thank you all. So I'll pivot to my wonderful colleague, Tania Alfaro. If you could take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. It is an honor. It is my honor to present here today in front of the council members, council president, and colleagues. So if we can put up the PowerPoint presentation. So on this slide, as Dira had expressed, we are trying to ensure that we are inclusive of the Maya community in Montgomery County. Therefore, we have been able to translate the initiative, Bienvenidos Aquí Para Ti, into at least 2 languages at this time, or 2 of their languages, Itzil and Cachique. Next slide, please. Dira, did you want to or unmute? I couldn't.
Sorry. Sonia, I'll kick it off to Sonia to this sort of gels and integrates everything that we have already said. So Sonia, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add here.
No, I think this is just a recap of what the council members already know about the effort and who's involved. And so let's just get started with the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. The following is updated data from the ORR website. This is for the federal fiscal year 22 for the 2 months of October and November. These are only the current numbers that come through ORR and are released to sponsors. We continue to share the data from ORR, but acknowledge that the limitations in this data are because many youth come to our region through other informal and dangerous channels not captured in the legal system. Next, please. This slide shows the hiring. So Children, Youth, and Family Services, Child, Adolescent, School, and Community-Based Services, as noted here, has hired me, the contracted newcomer coordinator, and contracted family support workers in the cluster projects as of November. However, due to the county procurement process, linkages to learning and school and community-based youth services providers are still in the process of hiring additional contracted case managers, mental health staff for the Met sites they serve. Many just received purchase orders last week, and recruitment for 4 merit community service aides in positive youth development and contracted community health workers through PCC and public health services is in progress. As for MCPS, in December, MCPS hired my counterpart, the Newcomers Transition Coordinator, Oscar Alvarenga. They also hired 6 ESOL transition counselors, also known as ETCs, and are in the process of hiring more. They have also hired 3 life coaches supporting elementary students. Other agencies in the process of hiring are the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center for Legal Services Coordinator and the Recreation Department. Next slide, please. With the help of the communication shop, the communications subcommittee has been working diligently to get communication out to the community via different media platforms. In December, we released a PSA in Spanish via the radio stations El Sol and La Jefa that promoted the Bienvenidos Aquí Para Ti initiative. This month, we have started airing the second PSA in La Jefa, El Sol, and La Nueva, along with interviews that both Mr. Alvarenga and I have partaken with several radio stations and other live streaming media. This has allowed us to promote using the Spanish language hotline. Next slide, please. We have created thus far 3 videos, 2 of which you saw as the opening of this presentation, Abuelina in Spanish, which is also used by Salud y Bienestar, where we got the idea, in the Maya language video in Ixil. The other 3 Maya languages, Mam, Quiche, and Cachiquel, identified as most used in our communities, are still in process of development. These videos will be shared via WhatsApp once completed. We have also distributed flyers and posters to partner agencies and will be posting them in the community, including grocery stores, laundromats, and other common places our targeted population resides. Along with the promotional videos and voices, we are working on promotional merchandise to give away and get to those hard to reach. We want to access the community that we may not see. For example, giving backpacks with the Bienvenidos Aquí Para Ti and the hotline displayed during an outdoor event, or a very creative laundry bag with the same information visible to people. We're investing in our communities in creative, non-traditional ways to communicate our services so they know we are here to help. In regards to future efforts, we are in conversation with Comcast, Telemundo, and Univision to promote our PSAs. The Navigation, Case Management, Health, and Mental Health Subcommittee has collected raw data over the past 4 months from our partner agencies, and I'm talking about September to December. These agencies include GASA, Identity, Linkages to Learning, and school and community-based youth service partners, such as Shepherd Pratt and Every Mind, the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center, and other partners. This chart here shows the needs and services provided to over 1,000 newcomer households, primarily from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala as the top 3 countries of origin. Assistance with school enrollment in MCPS was most of the support provided. Non-school enrollment supports are highlighted in the chart. We are still refining our data collection and work closely with the partners to minimize gaps in data capture to extrapolate trends. According to the graphs, in 2021, 1,195 children released from ORR have been enrolled in Care for Kids. As you can see, the enrollment in Care for Kids continues to increase. These graphs portray most of those enrolled from the 3 top countries mentioned previously. and mostly of ages 6 to 12. Next slide, please. The development of community-based services connection for METS and CREA schools has moved along. We provided a link in the packet that includes more detail on each of these schools' primary service contacts, including MCPS points of contacts for each school. All METS and CREA schools have identified services as well as gaps and needs for which we are constantly working to close them. We have created a living document in which we will maintain up to date in terms of capacity and services available to our newcomer community. Positive Youth Development has identified 2 schools that will pilot public safety enhancement programming, Einstein High School and Blair High School being the 2. They will work with both newcomers and US-born Latino and African American students to share common struggles, promote healing, and develop peer support as youth of color in Montgomery County. We continue to make efforts to meet the needs of the newcomer population being served and to close the gaps via our CBO partners and resources. Thank you for your time. Diane.
Thank you, Tanya. So as it comes to legal services, our goal here is to provide both comprehensive legal immigration services and to increase the capacity of legal immigration service providers to deliver comprehensive legal screenings and services and representation. And why is that important? I just want to restate here what's been mentioned in previous briefings. All unaccompanied migrant children and youth are placed in deportation proceedings upon release to their families and sponsors. And as you've heard, according to ORR, over 1,200 have been released into the county in FY21 and another 252 unaccompanied youth in October and November of 2021. Nationally, only 15% of unrepresented children in court were granted the permission to stay in the United States. Compare that to 73% of unaccompanied minors who were represented in court were granted the permission to stay. Ensuring that unaccompanied children and their families are legally able to stay in the United States is the first step to ensuring that they are not only able to benefit from all of the resources we are investing into providing supports and case management through schools and our nonprofit partners, but also for the county to fully benefit from all they will bring and will continue to give to the county as they achieve their full potential. So there are 2 pieces here on the legal. And I'm sorry, I can't see the slideshow because I am on the phone. So I hope that the slideshow is on the first slide. So the first piece here is to bring on board a legal services coordinator to be housed at the Gilchrist Immigrant Resource Center. They will provide referrals and coordinate with legal immigration service providers to make sure that we have up-to-date referral and case capacity information. We also hope that this legal services coordinator will be able to work closely under me to explore the potential and also develop and implement a public-private partnership with a philanthropic partner, just has been done in other jurisdictions such as DC, Prince George's County, Baltimore, New York, LA, in order for us to increase the funding for legal immigration services. The contracted legal services coordinator will be starting full-time next Monday, and we're excited to have them on board. They will also monitor the grants and contracts that have been awarded that's related to this work, which brings me to the next slide. So with the $250,000 that was allocated, we went through a grants process, and 4 legal immigration service providers were selected by a panel, and they are HIAS, OUDA, Asylum Works, and the UMD Safe Center. These 4 providers estimate that they will be able to provide services to approximately 208 to 232 clients in a 12-month period. This includes direct full representation to 43 to 47 clients and other services to the remaining numbers, which will include legal screening, education services, legal preparedness, and referrals. I think that the number that you see in the slideshow is not correct, but we will fix that following the presentation. These funds will also allow legal immigration service providers to represent guardians or their adults who are seeking custody of their child for the limited purpose of seeking special immigrant juvenile status. Thank you for letting me highlight the really important work that we're doing around legal immigration services. And I'm now very happy to introduce Luis Cardona, who needs no introduction, to talk about all of the wonderful work that he's been leading.
Good afternoon, everyone. In the best interest of time, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the data that was provided in terms of the surveys from a lot of the students that participated in that first Youth Leadership Conference. Just a FYI, for the future, we're going to be just calling it the same thing as the initiative. So it'll be the Bienvenidos Youth Leadership Conference. It will no longer be the Newcomer Youth Leadership Conference. But I do think one of the most impressive things that I know that I got, other than the good feedback we got in these surveys, was that through this process, we've been able to identify a core group of students, at least out of 4 of our high school-based wellness centers, that have kind of created this organic emergence of leadership, which is going to be critical, especially because MCPS is really being intentional about creating a peer-to-peer support strategy at the school. And what I really loved about what the students shared with us is they want to be in the middle of it. They want to be the foundation that supports this, happening. So they're taking on ownership. It's not just about, we're giving to them, but they're giving back to us. They're acknowledging all the blessings and the benefits of being able to come to Montgomery County and be here, where they're being welcomed in a very good way. And so I do think that that's a great accomplishment. And I wanted to acknowledge real quickly Maestra Gloria Bonilla over at Montgomery College, Galeno Camacho, and Carmen Centeno from the Wellness Centers, both Identity and National Center for Children and Families, as well as Carlos Represa, who is in the Street Outreach Network and just did an amazing job emceeing the event. I can't emphasize enough the level of cultural proficiency that went on throughout the planning of this process, the actual event itself, and it continues to carry on like that. So I'm very honored to be a part of that. A couple of other things that I just want to acknowledge that we didn't really work into this presentation, but that is that our Soccer for Change program through the Recreation Department started last week, so we're really excited about that. And as many of you know, that program is going to continue to be expanded thanks to the support and funding. The Street Outreach Network positions have now been advertised, and we're hoping to fill those really soon. So I know those are things that members of our council were really interested in hearing about. But the one thing that I also wanted to highlight is that we're looking to see how we can be more proactive in what we're doing. And so one of the things that I wanted to share without taking away any of Jesse's thunder is that through the redirecting of some resources for this program, in light of some incidents that took place towards the end of the school, towards the end of last year, we were redirecting some resources to MMYC to launch a pilot directed at this population as well in the workforce development context. And this is going to be a very critical piece for us, because what it's going to do is it's going to assure us, or at least get us to the point where it's not just a stopgap measure, but should any of the young people decide to drop out, leave schools, because all of us understands the complexity of what these students, what these children encounter all the time, and having to make tough decisions like leaving school. The intent is that support mechanism is going to be there in the community, so that we could then redirect them to Montgomery College. We can redirect them to alternative forms of education for them to be able to flourish in this county and continue to contribute, as Council Member Rice alluded to. Can we go down to the one on anti-discrimination, public safety, and trafficking? Okay, so real quickly, I know this is one that's always been a concern for many of us. Council Member Navarro very eloquently alluded to some of those concerns in the past and lessons learned. And so hence why we talked about the resources are being redirected to do some of that workforce development pieces, but also building the strengths and the skill sets of our systems, both in MCPS and in other county agencies. And so many know that at the beginning of the school year, all school security were provided with a general overview, not just of positive youth development resources, but also resources related to human trafficking, sex trafficking, and a general overview of recently arrived children or newcomers. And so we continue to work closely with MCPS right now so we can get that level of training to our secondary school administrators. But I'm really glad that we will be providing that in service to a lot of the PPWs and PZCs and other counselors in March to help inform a lot of the work that they're doing and to support work. As I think the school board member had mentioned, that's the key to this piece. It's the best way to describe how this has been working is like the wellness centers. Everything's been operating in a very seamless manner, so you can't tell the difference. We just know that we're all on the same page and trying to accomplish the same goal. I want to open it up for Jody Fickelson real quickly, if she can provide us any updates that she wanted to add in relation to trafficking prevention.
Thank you, Luis. Good afternoon. I know you said it very eloquently. The Montgomery County Human Trafficking Prevention Committee is going to continue to work with all vested parties to be able to provide trafficking training as needed.
Okay. All right. So with that, that concludes that portion of our presentation. I wanted to now pass the baton on to my good brother, Everett Davis at MCPS.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cardona. I appreciate that. If we go to the next slide, I appreciate it. And good afternoon to Council President Albornoz, to Vice President, also to Vice President Glass, and to the remaining council members. It's an honor and a privilege, as always, to present on behalf of MCPS and the work that we have been doing around our newcomer students. Just wanted to thank also Mr. Montilioni, as well as Ms. Borges, Dr. Norton, and also Mr. Alvarenga, who are also here to represent MCPS along with me. And we're excited to share our education and school-based services this afternoon and the updates that highlight each of the objectives from our action plan, including our actions, our partners, our status timeline, and also our metrics. Our goal has been and will continue to be, and I think we heard this illustrated earlier in the presentation, to create an environment for newcomer students and families that is welcoming and where their social and emotional needs and trauma are addressed so that they are available to learn and engage in the community. And this very much aligns with our goals within MCPS, specifically around our strategic initiatives implementation area of well-being support, and also around our Board of Education strategic plan area of well-being and family engagement. And so in addition to our team, who I mentioned, who's here to support today, we also have members of our curriculum team, as well as members who aren't necessarily on the line, but are critical in this work from our special education team, as well as our team in school support and improvement. So I just wanted to acknowledge them as they are critical partners in this work as well. We're fortunate to collaborate as one Office of Teaching, Learning, and Schools, as we often say, one OTLS. And so I just wanted to highlight that because it does truly take a village to do this work. I think we've heard that theme mentioned from the beginning of the presentation until now, and you'll continue to see evidence of that as we work through that we do not do this work in isolation. It is necessary in order for us to plan and develop and implement a comprehensive response for all of our newcomers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Ms. Borges.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis and Mr. Montilioni, for your unwavering support. It is such a pleasure and honor to be here with you today. I too want to express my deepest gratitude to all of our MCPS, Montgomery County, and community partners for the wonderful collaboration on this most important work. Although we acknowledge there is still much to be done to fully support our most recent arrivals and all newcomers, We are proud to share with you all of the progress that has been made up to this point. I want to start today by highlighting the total number of newcomers from around the world that have been enrolled since July 1st. As of February 3rd, we have enrolled nearly 3,000 newcomers. As of this morning, we have cleared 2,848 newcomers and expect to reach the 3,000 mark by next week. As you can see, the highlighted portion of the graph shows what historically tends to be the busiest enrollment months of the year, July through October, in the previous 4 years. However, this year was unusual in that we started slowly in July and August and picked up significantly in September. We're still going strong with nearly 400 students enrolled in January and more reaching out to us every day still. In fact, we're enrolling about 100 new families every week through our Welcome Center. We have welcomed families from Afghanistan, Brazil, Japan, Nigeria, the UK, and various countries in Latin America, as well as many more countries from all over the world. Today, we will be focusing on the families and unaccompanied minors coming to us from our southern border and processed through the Office of Refugee Resettlement, or as we affectionately call them, OR students. It is important to point out that although many of the students were unaccompanied when they entered the country, they were reunited with their families once they arrived in our county and were enrolled by a parent or family member. OR data is collected internally by IAE because we do not flag these students in our student information database, since immigration status has no bearing on enrollment or accessing education and social emotional supports once enrolled in the student's home school. Next slide, please. In this graph, you can see the total number of cleared students broken down by OR and non-OR students. 1,022 of the 2,848 newcomers cleared are OR students, which makes up 36% of all newcomers this school year. It is important to note that this number is a close approximation to the total of OR students enrolled, as some students were not identified because they enrolled with a parent and did not present paperwork at intake. We do not directly request or require that families present OR documentation if they are able to meet the identification and residency requirements with other approved paperwork presented at intake. Most of the students we are enrolling now through our Welcome Center are OR students, so we will continue to capture the growing number of students in IAE for the remainder of the school year. I will now turn the presentation over to Dr. Jennifer Norton, who will disaggregate newcomer enrollment data by English language development level and SLIFE eligibility, attendance performance, and newcomer programming in schools. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jennifer Norton, a director of the Department of English Learners and Multilingual Education in the Office of Curriculum and Instructional Programs at MCPS. I want to say thank you for having me here today and for the collaboration on this important work. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. As you have seen on the previous slides, MCPS is continuing to welcome new students throughout the school year. This slide zeroes in on the students who have been enrolled through IAE and have been identified as eligible for English language development services. These students are emergent multilingual learners, also known as English learners. By the end of the first marking period, nearly 1,000 students were identified as emergent multilingual learners. Of these, 128 were identified as having limited or interrupted formal education, also referred to as SLIFE, and are receiving additional supports to accelerate their learning. The number of newly enrolled emergent multilingual learners nearly doubled from the end of marking period 1 to the end of marking period 2, with the biggest jumps at the high school level. And we now have 302 students who are newly enrolled who have been identified as SLIFE. Students in elementary receive support from highly experienced teachers who are serving as SLIFE coaches. They are working with students directly and also coaching their students' teachers on strategies that address socio-emotional learning as well as academics and language development. Foundational literacy and math courses are being offered at the secondary level at 22 schools. I also want to mention that we offer numerous professional learning opportunities from our department to build teachers' capacity serving all students who are learning English, and specifically to support students who are newcomers or who have been identified as having limited or interrupted education. So these include PD opportunities on developing literacy, trauma-informed practices, and accelerating learning while also teaching language. Next slide, please. We are monitoring attendance data for newcomers as shown in this slide. A large number of newcomers have been absent for 10% or more of school days. The column marked NA means the students are so newly enrolled that they do not have enough attendance data to flag. Given the extreme rise in COVID cases in December and January and days off for various reasons, these attendance rates are not unexpected. It has been a very challenging couple of months for all students. However, now that the COVID case rate has so greatly declined, we hope to see attendance rates improve drastically, and we'll be monitoring that. Next slide, please. MCPS's summer programming will be held through local school programs and will include English language development and literacy courses, as well as foundational math. Students will also have access to other electives or core content that may be helpful for them to take in the summer. And to provide additional supports, we are currently researching curricula for supporting cultural orientation for newcomers to augment English language development courses. And as you know, MCPS currently offers foundational reading and math courses at 10 middle schools and 12 high schools. And these courses are called the Multidisciplinary Education and Training Support Program, also known as METS. And the resource teachers at these schools coordinate the English language development program. However, we are well aware that additional coordination and support is needed in order to make sure that students access needed services and have both initial and ongoing support. And we have heard from you the interest in investigating and researching what would a newcomer school look like and how might we do that. So we are currently exploring ways to expand supports to provide more case management than is currently possible with the existing staffing allocations. We know that there's this interest in this idea of a single school where students who are newcomers would go. So we met with a local school district regarding their international school. We learned that, in fact, it's not designed for newcomers, but for English learners in general for all 4 years. And it's actually an application school. And while it is sought after school for students, we've also learned that with a small student population, one challenge that had been reported by this administrator is that it's challenging to set up a school with the same level of courses, clubs, activities, and resources at other larger and already existing schools. The district didn't have any outcome data to offer us comparing international schools to other schools, but we are continuing to meet with that district so that we can continue the conversation and share and kind of brainstorm and problem solve back and forth. We are continuing to delve into the research and practices at other districts as well so we can develop proposal options. One key feature of the proposals that we are batting around and working on is that they all have a school leader, such as an assistant principal, who would be focused on leading the program, as well as coaches or coordinators to make sure that students and service providers are in sync. We, in our discussions, do have concerns about unnecessarily restricting students from peers, from language models, from the general education curriculum, and ideally we could expand supports at students' home schools or find a way to avoid creating transportation hurdles. So we're continuing to talk with neighboring districts and develop options for how we can best expand supports. We recognize that this is critical and we need to do something. I'll now pass to Oscar Alvarenga, who will share more about work from the Student and Family Supports and Services Department.
Thank you, Dr. Norton, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here and share some updates. We all know how important it is to have a newcomer professional development for our staff at our MET schools. Our ESOL transition counselors were trained in October in the neurosequential model in education. Staff also participated in the Compadres Network, La Cultura Cura Restorative Circles in October and December, and will participate in cohort 3 in April of this year. Staff are also participating in the Supporting Newcomer Immigrant Youth in the U.S. School Training. Cohort 1 was completed in December, and Cohort 2 will be completed in April of this year. Next, staff will participate in the Unaccompanied Minors, the case of Indigenous children in the D.C. metropolitan region, with a focus on Montgomery County in March. Additionally, we are designing an orientation professional development model that will be delivered by key MCPS staff in schools aligned to the Newcomer Toolkit published by the U.S. Department of Education. Although many schools already coordinate a peer-to-peer program, we want to provide guidance, support, and a structured approach for all schools to implement this program. To achieve this, we are collaborating with the MCPS Director of Student Leadership and Extracurricular Activities to design and coordinate a system-wide peer-to-peer program to recruit MCPS students who can support and mentor newcomers as they earn student service learning hours. And we will ensure fidelity by collaborating with the SSL coordinators at each secondary school to implement this program. This will help fully integrate our current and newcomer students. Next slide. Next, we have our OYMA. MCPS, in partnership with the Imagination Stage under the leadership of the Director of Education and Theater for Change, continues to expand the OYMA program. At this time, the OYMA program will continue in Einstein and Watkins Mill High Schools, and we are starting programs at Eastern and Sligo Middle Schools in March. We have identified 2 additional schools where we're working to introduce the OYMA program in the near future. Next, we have CREA. I would like to make it clear that when a student arrives at the International Admissions and Enrollment Office and they meet the criteria, we refer them directly to the CREA program where staff guides them in the enrollment process. These students are usually at least 18 years old with an ELD level of 1 or 2 and bring less than 6 transferable high school credits. Currently, our day program at Seneca Valley High School and Thomas Edison are serving 48 total students, and our night program at Thomas Edison is serving 107 students. I'm happy to share with you that our students have passed 30 GED sections this school year in comparison to the 19 sections passed in the 2020-2021 school year. MCPS and DHHS are working to address key priority areas to continue supporting our students, which are the somatic healthcare services, job placement, financial assistance, legal assistance, and affordable housing. Next, we have our college pathway. You can go back. College pathway, thank you, and workforce development initiative with Montgomery College. Now, although MCPS and Montgomery College have had a long-standing relationship, we now have a structure in place in which I will serve as the main liaison that will ensure a warm handoff for all eligible students enrolling through our office. Our Youth Workforce Development Subcommittee will convene as a branch of the Education Subcommittee to bring together stakeholders, service providers, and resources. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. Thank you. I want to share the mission of this work group, which is to strengthen the English language education and or vocational training career pipelines for newcomers, youth, and young adults. The Youth Workforce Development Work Group is focused specifically on building and strengthening educational and workforce readiness options for newcomers, youth that have obtained an equivalent out-of-state high school diploma from a foreign education institution, and newcomer youth and young adults assessed by MCPS who are unlikely to meet all graduation requirements prior to turning 21 of age. The Youth Workforce Development Work Group will meet by mid-February and will invite guest holders, including MCPS International Enrollment and Admissions, CREA, Montgomery College, DHHS, Office of Community Partnership, the Gilchrist Center, CASA, Identity, the Maryland Multicultural Youth Centers, the Achievement of Promise Academy, and the Worksource Montgomery, with an opportunity for others to join. And before I hand it off, I also would like to thank Ms. Jessie Mejia Terish from the Office of Community Partnership, the Latino Community Liaison for the County Executive. She has been a key partner in helping us organize and identify and has been an instrumental person for us. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. And next, I will be handing it over to Ms. Daira Vance, the Chief of Children, Youth, and Family Services, who will speak on our collective accomplishments and future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Oscar. So to sort of close us out and bring us home, this is just a nice synthesis of the collective work that everybody has done to date. And that's what the whole presentation sort of centered on, giving you a thorough update around communications, navigation and case management, legal, positive youth development, public safety, and education. So I'm not going to go through all of it because we've already have gotten a thorough deep dive throughout the presentation. So next slide, please. And what's coming down the horizon for this great initiative and the fantastic folks that are here. This is just some of the additional work that we're going to continue to plug away at. In terms of communication, we're going to continue our work to ensure that we continue to roll out the initiative throughout all media platforms as much as possible to get the word out there to all to folks. We're going to also continue to gather data regarding the effectiveness and the reach of our campaign to ensure that we're hitting the target audiences and ensure that we're not missing any folks, and see where we need to sort of make adjustments and pivot. Around navigation, case management, health and mental health, we're going to continue to enhance our protocols for Bienvenidos partners to provide services on site and in schools and in the community. We're going to also enhance our data collection and our monitoring and evaluation infrastructure. We're going to continue to beef that up to ensure that we're proactively tracking outcomes over time to ensure, again, that we're being effective. And then we're also lastly going to continue to roll out the Mayan cultural competency training, which is great. And we're really excited about that. In the legal sphere, we're going to be recruiting for a legal partner to reinforce the capacity of our teams to offer legal education and resources. In terms of positive youth development, we're excited. The first conference was such a great turnout. And the next one is planned for March 2020. And we've added additional youth leaders to the conference planning committee, which, you know, elevating community voices and the voices of the folks we're trying to reach is beyond important. So we're excited to be able to have that and fold that in. In terms of public safety, we're going to continue to expand the critical work around human trafficking and supporting unaccompanied migrant youth and other survivors. It's a training. It was offered. It was already offered to public safety staff, and we'd love to continue to roll this out to MCPS school administrators. And we're also going to continue processing the proposals for 2 new youth violence programs, which come at a very pivotal and critical time for our communities. And lastly, around education, we're going to continue to support our network and pathways for our newcomers to ensure that they get high school diplomas, and then just to reinforce pathways to vocational training and higher education. And lastly, we're going to continue to formalize a system-wide newcomer orientation for students and parents and guardians who are part of the METS school sites. So that's sort of the vision for the future, where we're planning on going. Next slide, please. This is just a brief table with key contacts. So folks know if there's somebody that they want to communicate with, these are just the leads for each of the units, the area that they oversee, and where folks could be reached. Next slide, please. And last but not least, this is by no means is this does it include every single one of our partners, but it shows the beautiful breadth of collaboration, of the multiple disciplines, of the different backgrounds of all of the collective partners that make up this fantastic work. And we wouldn't be here without this collective effort. So we are just so grateful to have everybody at the table. And those that are not represented here, we wouldn't be able to do half of what we've done, and we won't be able to continue the amazing work that we intend to do if it wasn't for every single one of these partners. So we are just thankful to everybody. We thank you all for your time today. And with that, I'd like to close us out. I'd also like to say on behalf of our director, Dr. Kroll, who wasn't able to make it, we also wanted to extend thank yous to everyone. So that concludes our presentation for today.
Dira, thank you so much. In a minute, we're going to hear from our colleague and friend, Diego Uriburu from the community, but at least two of my colleagues have hard stops coming up soon. And I know Councilmember Navarro has some questions for the presenters. So before we get to Diego, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Navarro to ask her questions. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for indulging me. I apologize that we have another meeting to attend. I first wanted to just say how impressed I am with this presentation. It is quite comprehensive. It really does show extraordinary work. And a lot of progress, I have to say. This is so inspiring. I wanted to just touch base quickly on a particular component that I didn't hear mentioned too much, and it's been on my mind quite a bit. So, in 2016, when Wheaton High School obviously was completed, et cetera, we had approved funding to create a wellness center. And I remember that there was quite a bit of work, and I know that this was a priority for me, to make sure that we would open the wellness center at the same time that the school opened, because there was a disconnect there. And we recognized how critical it was to invest in this concept, because it was just so holistic and so comprehensive. And so I remember us having really productive conversations around the need to establish these wellness centers, and they were to be an experiment, right? So the idea was, let's see how this works. The first one in this community, where we knew we had a multiplicity of issues, including a lot of newcomers in that area of the county, my district, and let's see if this really can work, but we need to put the resources in there, which we did. And then we began to expand. And so I am reminded of the moment that we are facing right now, because a lot of what has been described right now, even though it is under the category of our newcomer students, we also know on a daily basis, we're hearing about so many other pressures out there writ large affecting our young people, especially because of the pandemic and all the compounding effects in our families. And so I know I distributed a memo to my colleagues regarding a conversation and some work that I have started with our Council President Albornoz. Some of our colleagues also have been very interested in this, on this notion of expanding the wellness center, basically to say, hey, let's commit on having a wellness center in each high school. Let's just do that. And so I'm curious about that particular component, because what I heard was, quite a bit of different programs, a lot of really important services. I also heard that we're still looking at whether this concept of a centralized, physical space could be a possibility, but that's still under consideration. So then I'm thinking, okay, so if that is something that is still being evaluated, but meanwhile, we have a lot of different programs that are, and I saw the chart, right? So you have to kind of figure out, like, where do I go for legal services? Where do I go for this? You're still trying to chase all these different programs. Why not then take advantage of this moment and just include in this presentation or in this particular, proposal, the idea of expanding the wellness centers to each high school, knowing that it would serve as a centralized place in each school, not just for the newcomers, which we really need, but it would also be comprehensive in its approach of mental health support and so many other issues that right now we are in a crisis. So I throw that out there. I don't know who can respond, but I would really like to understand that. Lastly, I'll say the youth workforce piece, I'm so thrilled to hear that. And I would like to have something sooner than later, because that is another component that is critical. The idea of having jobs available to our young people, to have access to workforce development, it's kind of a critical, urgent need as well. And so, as we all have experienced this pandemic, we have all experienced how it has exacerbated so much. In my opinion, this just calls for like bold moves that in the end, actually, it helps us save money because you're not creating programs everywhere. You're centralizing it where the students are, where the young people are, where their families can also access. And you are holistic. It's almost like when we started doing the linkages to learning, but this is at a different level. So just wondering if someone could talk a little bit about whether has this been something that has been discussed, because we on the council are very interested in moving quickly, because now we're about to address a budget that's coming to us. But it would be awesome if we could also have you guys collectively explore that option, because I didn't hear that in the presentation. I was surprised by that. So does anybody have any thoughts about that in particular?
Yes, I'll take that out of the Councilmember Navarro. And I apologize. We were trying to be mindful of your time, so I really flew through the PYD portion of this. Fortunately, Mark Hodge and I have been working together for years here, and he's been a blessing to work with, because he's always kind of guided me in terms of where we need to go with our wellness centers. And so we've always been very intentional with that, whether it's how we respond to the growing needs of the CREA students from the somatic health perspective, to just kind of what's going on. And I really appreciate your perspective on this from the social equity lens, because these needs are across the board for all students in this county. And I believe everyone on this call is on the same page in our understanding that it can't be, something that's a strategy just for one segment of the population without addressing the needs of others. I will hand that off to Mark, but just the second part of your question, that's one of the reasons that we've approached MMYC, and kudos to Lupe, because she's expressed some interest in figuring out how we can pilot something like that, because many of you that are familiar with workforce development, especially here in the state, a lot of the funding streams come from the federal government. And so that undermines us being able to access those funding streams. And so I do believe that this is the start of a possibility that will get us in the direction to come up with a pilot that's going to help out in conjunction with a lot of the great work that Identity does as well in workforce development, be it at the wellness centers or the youth opportunity centers. So Mark, you want to add something to that?
Can I, before we turn to Mark, I guess I want to also not lose my train of thought.
Uh-huh.
What I'm trying to say is that we are facing a real crisis in the increase of mental health problems, major episodes. We've seen it. We look at the numbers, and we are really, really concerned. That's number one. Number two, we know that budgets are finite, right? Like we don't have a lot of resources necessarily. So we always talk about best practices. And I know I've been a broken record about how do we scale up best practices, right? That's the whole point, is that we try something, we see if it works, and if it works, we should scale it up, right? And right now we are understanding and realizing that we need to be holistic. We need to make sure that we're leveraging what we have. We should not have families or students have to go to different places, et cetera. What is the most effective way of doing that? we saw the role of the hubs in our communities, how impactful they were because they were strategically located. We have been augmenting the use of our regional services centers, right? We're doing everything possible to make sure that we're able to make things accessible. And so again, I just really would love if we were able to take a step back and very quickly recognize that this is urgent. This is urgent. I mean, we saw what happened in Magruder High School in my district. This is urgent. So what could we do immediately to stand up these kinds of holistic, approaches in our schools? Wellness centers have proven to have done that. Like I said, back in 2016, it was just an experiment. We've seen that it's really worked. So could you guys, of course you don't have to answer this now, but would it be possible for all of you, since you've been working together in this way, would it be possible for all of you to send to the council, your thoughts on this, how you see this happening? I know our central office staff is already, has worked on this. I mean, we have the cost, we have all of this, but it would be great also to have all of your extraordinary input on if the county council, working with the executive, decided to roll out, phase in high school, wellness centers in each school in order to address what is now a crisis. What could that look like? What would be some of the components? And how do you then leverage that centralized resource to also, help with the newcomers, those who might need, other types of help? You could literally triage so many different types of approaches. Workforce development, youth employment, things of that nature could all be done in a centralized way that way. I, for one, as one council member, would love to get all of your input on that because I am so concerned that we can't just continue to kind of do the same things that we're doing over and over again. So, I just want to throw that out there because unfortunately I have to run to another meeting. But, and Mr. President, if we could get something maybe, in writing or something to the effect of what would that look like? Because this group is on the ground and it's, you guys are such important stakeholders that I would just like to see how that could be built into this overall strategy, understanding that it's urgent and that what we would like to do is to hit the ground running with this budget and begin to roll out these wellness centers. I understand there are space issues. We can solve that. We can, we can look at relocatable classrooms. We can find ways, but I think it's definitely an important piece that we need to address on a writ large sort of way versus silos, which, I think it's not how we should be doing it. So I just respectfully request if I could just get something in writing or, through our central office staff to see how we could best position ourselves to do this. I know Dr. Kroll has, understands the importance of wellness centers. Given his background, this is definitely something that I think all of my colleagues have already expressed interest in, and we should move ahead with that.
So if I can real quickly,
yes.
My name is Mark Hodge. I'm the acting senior administrator for school health services. We have on the calendar in the next week or so a meeting to start discussing actually this. So as I'm sure you're aware, we already have 5 high school wellness centers. A 6th will open at Kennedy High School in the fall. All of that is complete. We're waiting on state paperwork to get completed for that. So we already have 6 in some of our most inaccessible communities from a healthcare and mental health perspective in those communities to be able to access, especially for our students, through Care for Kids and others as well. That is absolutely something we're looking at, is to expand that into other schools. As you mentioned, space is an issue. It's something that we have to discuss with MCPS, and we've tried to kind of coordinate opening up of these school-based wellness centers, as well as the elementary school school-based health centers, which we also have 9 of, in kind of collaboration with MCPS and some of the construction they're already doing. So we are meeting and we will talk about that. I do think it's important to kind of discuss what how we can split off the mental health and social services piece from the somatic health piece. In some of these wellness centers, not all communities have an access to somatic care issue, but all of them certainly during these times we're seeing. It doesn't matter where you live, the mental health issues are affecting everybody. So that's also a consideration for us in these discussions about how do we stand something up that might not be a full wellness center that includes somatic health, but something that can enhance and provide mental health services as well in all of those schools. So that's definitely something that we'll be discussing. And it won't be any issue with getting you something in writing or to have another discussion like this in the near future to let you know where we're going.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. I really appreciate that. I do want to be mindful of the time. It is February. We're going to be receiving a request for operating budget very soon, so we don't have a lot of time. And I trust that between all these partners, there will be, I think, the capacity to discern what can go where right now. The idea is not to think that we're going to have the full blown everywhere right away, but what we're trying to do is address what is a crisis and make sure that we can pull our resources and be very bold and stand this up. Whether we look at portables, where we look at waste, what I'm hearing and all of us have heard and understand is that families overall, and I'm talking about, all families, students, young people, this has been such a traumatic experience on so many levels that we can't afford to just kind of wait and see and whatever. We need to respond. The beauty of it is that we have such amazing partners, such incredible talent within HHS, within our community, within MCPS, that it will not be difficult to do this. And I think the council seems poised to say that we will do whatever we can to prioritize this, because not acting is not an option. So I appreciate your candor. I will just say that we need to put this on the fast track. Because every single day we hear something else. And again, all families are in dire need of support. So thank you so much. I look forward to those next steps. And again, I know my colleagues, many of them have been involved in these conversations as well. And I think that it's important. And I'm so moved by the fact that everybody seems to be on the same page regarding this expansion. Thank you. And unfortunately, I have to leave, but I appreciate everybody's work. It's extraordinary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Amen. Amen. We absolutely, we feel that urgency. I know the entire council stands with you, united. I know Board of Education as well. And we are, as you said, so eloquently fortunate to have such a remarkable team of dedicated professionals, both within our county government, MCPS, and our community-based organization sector. So we absolutely have what we need here, and we can get this done. Speaking of great community-based organizations and sectors, I'm now going to turn it over to our good friend and community leader, Diego Riburu, to share the perspective as a community-based organization and the great work that Identity is doing, along with a variety of other partners that are out there. And just a quick time check, because I just got a text message from another colleague who has a hard stop as well. We're going to aim to try and complete this by 4:30. And so I do have a few questions I'd like to ask as well. Other colleagues do as well. But Diego, I turn it over to you to provide some perspective and context from your perspective.
Great. Thank you so much. Don't worry, I'll use the 45 minutes and then I'll stop. Okay. Okay. I want to start by saying that I speak as a member of the team and also as a community member. This team has done a phenomenal job. It's amazing what has been set up in so little time. But within that, there's things that we can do a lot better. And I am sorry that Councilwoman Navarro left, because I wholeheartedly agree with her statement. The fact that we have lots of programs here or there, but we still lack a comprehensive plan. And now that we put a Band-Aid on the hole for unaccompanied minors, the holes in other segments of the community. So, and Luis said it again, no, we need to try to have a comprehensive plan deal with the issues that we as a county are dealing with. Are unprecedented. And I cannot fail to mention the work that the three initiatives have done in stepping up and also contribute, because we're talking about social determinants of health. No, education is one of those. And these young people and families are dealing with all these different issues, and so are other members of the county who's been here for a long time. There's a few things that as a member of this group, I also want to make sure that you hold us accountable for. I think that MCPS still needs to do a little better. We need to have a comprehensive plan as to what we're going to do with these young people once they enter MCPS, because it's very easy to say, yes, we have the CREA program that serves 150, by 151, and I did the math, but we're talking about thousands of young people. And kids are sent to this school or this other school, but we don't know what happens once they get there. So, and I think that this plan needs to have accountability measures so that we can track what's happening to these young people. In fact, we should be tracking what's happening to all young people in MCPS, because the fact is that many are falling through the cracks, particularly Black and brown. So I urge you to continue to ask for a plan, a comprehensive plan for MCPS that tracks every one of these young people and see how they're doing. I have to tell you that the Black and Brown Coalition are working with MCPS right now, developing a plan to strengthen MCPS's capability to become a more culturally responsive system. We hope to come up with recommendations soon. Again, this will be an overarching plan, which we think is very much needed. We still need to do a better job to hire the counselors at MCPS that we said we're going to hire, the parent coordinators. I know that it's difficult, but we have to. And the same as with the county government side, if we cannot hire them, then there's other things that can be done. And again, I mean, that is a good example, and others of innovative ways in which we can tackle the same problems in a cheaper way, and in a way that we can do it fast if we cannot hire the people that we need. We are concerned about what's happening with young people, 18 years of age and younger, who the international office deems that they have enough credits to graduate, and the international office refers them to specific schools. If they have someone, as Oscar mentioned, and by the way, I want to thank and welcome Oscar and Tanya and Dira to the team, wonderful assets and tremendous passion. But as Oscar mentioned, when a young person comes and is under 18 years old, and they're deemed that they have sufficient credits and time to graduate, they're sent to particular schools. If they're not deemed, they have very few credits, then they're sent to CREA. But we are concerned that the international office is sending many of these young people to school because they make an assessment that they could graduate. And many of these young people are sent to CREA, and we do not want CREA to become a dumping ground, which is a great program. But if some of these young people could be in a track to graduate, then let's try to support them that way, unless themselves or the families believe that CREA is a better option. But maybe we should dig a little deeper as to what's happening. And I really would like the Board of Education or the Council to request quarterly reports to all these schools who receive CREA students, to track them and say, okay, how are they doing? Have they been referred to CREA or not, and why? So we should put a little pressure, because unfortunately for some administrators, not all, but for some administrators, it's easier to just send young people to CREA, and they don't have to have the responsibility to educate them and to deal with some of the challenges that they bring with themselves. And so we want to know, if someone's pregnant, do they stay at the school? Do they provide them with the supports that they need, etc.? So that's very important to us. Another thing that is important for all of us here is that we understand that we have funding for this year. We want to make sure that the council and the county executive continues to fund all these efforts beyond this year. It was touched upon during the presentations that we are making efforts for those who are older than 18 years old, and they come here, they do not access MCPS, and their families require them to work. And they're asked to work, but they don't have any training to work. And as Oscar mentioned and Luis mentioned, they come here without sufficient training. Most of the funding for Worksession Montgomery comes from the feds through WIOA, and it doesn't allow undocumented individuals to be served with those funds. I understand as a board member of the Worksession Montgomery, one of the two boards, I can't remember which one now, that we're making a request to the county executive to fund services for immigrants in general. I think that the amount that we are requesting is insufficient, and I would urge the council or someone who works with the executive to add additional funding, because that's intended for adults and young people, and it's definitely not enough. Particularly, we have to pay for young people obtaining credentials, certificates that would make them more likely to get jobs, because everyone gets jobs, even if they're undocumented. There's a job market there that would hire them, and the more prepared they are, the better and the more likely they'll be to get jobs. So I urge you that to also not leave Worksession Montgomery off the hook. I think that we should hold Worksession Montgomery, who should be serving all, and I'm saying this as a board member of Worksession Montgomery, we should put a little pressure on them also to ensure that they work with our immigrant communities, particularly with the young people also. And that's all I have to say. And I really want to thank the council for all your support from the very beginning. It's night and day from how we responded to the surge of unaccompanied minors a few years back. Your leadership is simply amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Diego. So I had a few questions. I'll start with my colleagues in MCPS. I would love to get your thoughts and reaction to Diego's suggestion, just sort of a report, because, and I was so impressed by the presentation. It's clear that you understand and you've heard from both the providers and the community that the intake system, I think, has really been strengthened. I have some questions about that intake system, but some of the challenges have been when the students are then referred to respective schools, acknowledging that each school is different. It has a different set of support structure in place. It has different individuals in place. Different schools place different priorities in certain areas. And it's not a one size fits all. And so some students just inherently, by the luck of the draw, may have more resources at their disposal than others at other schools. And I know the school system's working very hard on leveling that playing field. But part of that is data. Part of that is reporting in order for us to be able to fully address the needs of our students. I know it's complicated because it crosses over into multiple agencies, and clearly confidentiality is critically important here. But do you have any thoughts or reflections on how we may be able to provide, even at a macro level, some of the reports once those referrals to schools have been made, just to keep track of how these students are going as they go through the system? And I don't know if Mr. Monteleone or Mr. Davis, you're in a position to be able to respond to that.
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. It's a good one. I would like to, after I speak at a certain level, I'd like to hear from Margarita and Jennifer, because they can speak in detail to what happens when the student leaves IE into most often a METS or an ESOL program. But I agree with the sentiment that was raised about a comprehensive monitoring tool, right? So, I've read about these tools in other districts, and I would imagine a partnership between Montgomery County Health and Human Services, certainly in MCPS. Optimally, the best system would be a shared database, right? Because not what we do primarily is look at academics, right? So we have academic monitoring tools that are rooted in all of the items that students need to graduate, and certainly state tests or what have you, GPA, things of that nature, academic supports. And we certainly do in our communication logs and internal systems are able to capture when students are referred to a counselor or other services they may need. But what I've encountered before is a desire to really be able to link student A came in, these are the credits they had, This is the school they went to. These are the credits they earned. And these are some of the services that they received that we were able to connect them to in the community through DHHS or through some of our community partners or nonprofits. And that is where we would welcome that partnership. I can say from my personal experience, having sat as a principal of one of our largest high schools that had a METS program, one of the largest ESOL programs, that the data that you're referring to specifically around academics and on a student-by-student basis about the services they receive, certainly within the school system and our counseling services, student family support and engagement, that is tracked. It's tracked school by school, and it's tracked through our counseling services, and it's tracked through our English resource, our ESOL resource teachers, right? So we do have school by school has monitoring tools that they keep for the data points that we monitor inherently. What I am hearing is the desire to bring that to scale, not only across all 25 high schools centrally here at MCPS, but to connect that data to the services that students receive in partnership with Montgomery County. So I would say that we certainly have an interest in doing that and can work with our tech folks on our end. But I don't know if Dr. Norton or Ms. Borquez would like to speak to any of the current state, if you will.
Yes, thank you. I can start, and I'm sure Dr. Norton might have some things to add. But as co-chair of the Newcomer Education Subcommittee, this is a conversation we're currently having, and we have structures in place that will allow us to scale this up. Every school has a school improvement plan. And if newcomers are made part of the school improvement plan, it gets measured, it gets tracked, it gets discussed at regular meetings, and also collaborating with our counseling instructional specialists and our counseling department to help build the capacity of counselors at the various schools so that when students enter schools, we have a graduation plan in place. That's one of the first steps that are done in welcoming students. Let's look at how old you are. Let's look at how many credits you've brought with you, and let's back map from when you turn 21 and what does your schedule look like over the next 2, 3, 4 years, depending on how much time they have left. So I think linking to our school improvement plans at each school is going to be critical in being able to measure and track these students, and our collaboration with our other offices to support, as well as the social emotional supports, connecting them to a parent community coordinator, an ESOL transition counselor, a school-based ESOL counselor immediately upon enrollment will help support these students as they move through their schooling. Dr. Norton?
Just to echo what Margarita was discussing, we are currently working together on how we can upgrade our data tracking between IAE and the academic side. So, I think we have a meeting scheduled even in the near future for us to kind of continue working out some of those details. But I appreciate this idea about linking outside of MCPS. And I think just, I appreciate all of like the pushes and the questions, and the part that I keep coming back to is just seeing how to provide a real strong program for students who are newcomers, that you really need a leader who can own that and have the time dedicated to making sure that students are able to access the supports that are already there, and that they need students need someone who is going to really help students to access what's available and to do it in an ongoing way. There are services out there that students just might not even know about, and that with a leadership role in place, even more than what we already have dedicated, that can help with that coordination amongst the different providers and resources that are there.
Thank you for that response. I guess to my colleagues in HHS, and I don't know if Dira, you're in the best position to respond to this, or maybe Monica, but what's your reaction to that? I know that's probably music to your ears, and there has already been a lot of collaboration in terms of data sharing. But what would HHS need to be able to stand up and support that alignment? Do you think you have what you need now administratively, or do you think additional resources would be needed?
Yeah, so I'm still fairly new, so I'm still learning the landscape, the players, and the resources that we do have available. I do think we can most definitely align our efforts a little bit more around data sharing, cross-sharing between both parties, and really align ourselves in terms of intervention. I think there's also a discussion to be had around upstream interventions and downstream interventions. I think we need a little bit of both, because it could easily, if we don't do that, we could easily be placing the onus to succeed on the individual instead of focusing on system-wide transformation. And that conversation goes back to what assessments are we using? How are we really measuring success, right? Because we're asking individuals to assimilate to the public school system in the US, right? So we can't necessarily always use the exact same assessment tools as we use for the students that we have here who are US born students. So I think there's a big conversation for us, room for us to explore. There's definitely still a lot more to be done. And I think we need, again, both upstream and downstream interventions. The downstream is always going to be there, but if we really want to generate systemic change and set this population up for success, we really need to blow the lid off of all of this, share more data more frequently, create the infrastructure. I don't know if it's there. Again, I'm still learning the county, I'm still learning the resources, but if the infrastructure isn't there, I think our efforts need to focus on building that, building alignment, systems, and protocols, so that we could continue to have these conversations and really develop targeted strategies instead of sort of shooting spaghetti at the wall. So I think we've done a lot of great work, but we still most definitely have a lot more to do, and both agencies can most definitely improve that a little bit more.
I would also add to that, if I may, that we do have an umbrella data sharing agreement across HHS and MCPS and program collaboration agreement. So we do have some infrastructure that we can keep building on to do this work. And that is part of the work of the bi-agency planning group, kind of reconvening and reconfiguring after the pandemic here, not after, we're still in it, but, you know, getting back on track amongst all of these priorities to be looking at. That's a conversation we've been having, and it's coming up.
That's good. So there's a will and there's a way. So now it's just, to Ms. Treadvance's point about the system building was really well taken. I knew exactly what she was talking about, and I know everybody in this call did too. And so I do think that that's really critically important. And, you know, as this continues to evolve, you're going to see much more sophisticated reports, I suspect. We've got these macro level numbers now, individual programs and services that are all having an impact, but it's that collective data sharing where we're really going to be cooking with gas, which I know is going to lead to higher graduation rates. It's going to lead to improved workforce development outcomes, and fewer social emotional challenges as we're seeing right now. Two other points really quick before turning it over to any colleagues. Well, just Councilmembers Rice and Jawando, if you have any additional questions. But it was music to my ears as a person 20 years in the youth development space, the peer-to-peer strategy. I, as a youth worker myself for a long time, who worked really hard sometimes to break through and get to kids. It's kids that get to kids more effectively in so many different ways. How are we preparing those peers who we are recruiting and hoping to stand up so that, because, you know, the situations that these young people in cars, we know, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, is hard even for professionals who've been in this space for a really long time. So how are we setting up those peers to succeed and then providing them with the support and referral process necessary when inevitably something happens that they can't handle?
So Councilmember Albornoz, thank you for that question. And as my good mentor always reminded me, never stop preaching to the choir because they may just stop singing one day.
Love it.
So with that said, as it relates to what's come out of, and again, the young people have driven this. You know, they just said, look, you know, we appreciate what y'all doing for us, but we want to play a role in this and drive this. So the good thing is that as it speaks right now, the leadership group that's leading us are current clients of the wellness centers. But your question is right on time, because then as we now move forward to our second conference, which will be March 14th at Montgomery College Germantown campus, little plug, we're now talking about bringing in the students who don't necessarily have those PYD-like resources in their school. And it is going to require us to develop a strategy that's going to support them. And so I'm really happy in particular because we have Tanya, who most folks don't understand. That first conference that we did back in 2015 without any county funding was because of Tanya's leadership. And so Tanya and Oscar, who's one of the best organizers, I believe, in this county, I think are going to really help work together in a very seamless way to make sure we do that. We've got Carolina Camacho from Identity and Carmen Centano from NCCF, two really strong youth development practitioners that I know for a fact will make sure we're supporting those young people. But I do believe that it does require a very systemic approach because not all those students that may become a part of the leadership process will be able to have access to a wellness center in their school.
I appreciate that very much, Luis. And you for continuing to do what you've been doing for a really long time. So just a couple of other questions as I wrap up. Somebody mentioned WorkSource. Amen. And I do think that, MCPS and HHS and our nonprofit partners are most directly engaged in these conversations. But there are a lot of other organizations that are out there in different spaces that are part of this really important paradigm. And so I do think, again, as this evolves, we strengthen what is already pretty strong, but I think we can kind of start working out from there to address some of these other opportunities, which leads me to parents. And I know that holistically, obviously it's youth who we most directly work with. And I know Luis has been beating this drum for a long time, and he's right. What supports are there currently in place for parents? And how is that part of the strategy? And it's, it's obviously our immigrant parents, but as Councilmember Navarro noted, our kids are in crisis right now. And so it's that overall holistic support structure that I think is going to be critical if we really are going to have an impact, because it's, the issues are complex, as we know, and tough on their own. So any thoughts on that? Luis, I'll start with you because I know you've been talking about this for a while, but your thoughts and reflections, and then we'd love to hear from HHS and MCPS.
So again, I have to acknowledge the leadership of the council and the executive because through a special appropriation, we were able to launch a special pilot program that the YMCA runs that creates a parallel to what the Street Outreach Network does for young people. And so it's now directed at the parents of the young people that we're engaging with. So big up to Zaid Hernandez over at YMCA for that work. We just started really pulling them in this past month, and it's going good to the extent that a lot of MCPS folks are right, hey, can we just refer any of the parents of these kids there? And, we're like, hey, we just got to focus on what the PYD population was serving as of right now. But I know Diego can elaborate on this even more. That's the power of the wellness centers because, again, you have parent engagement specialists and practitioners in the school, and often they are parents at that same school. And so it's a real good best practice, for those parents and for those families. It's something that in PYD we have really embraced and integrated to what we do. And kudos to Derek, because Derek and I met, I think, a week ago. We were talking about this, about the possibility of even having to rebrand PYD because of that family component that we're doing now. And it's a big part of it, not just with newcomer children, but just in general, even as we've responded to the crisis at Magruder and other crises throughout the county or in the schools. So it's a big part, or it's the foundation of what we are trying to accomplish here. And I'm just going to pass it on to my chief, Dara.
Thank you, Luis, and appreciate you highlighting some of the fantastic work that's going on around parent engagement. Most definitely, to the point that you also brought about, it's important messaging to Luis's point on rebranding, because sometimes a lot of the language that we use could become synonymous with Latino, right? Gang Latino, sex trafficking Latino. So that could be off-putting to some parents sometimes too, in terms of getting them to access some of our services or even walking through our doors. So language is powerful. I most definitely agree that I think it is important. Again, I haven't done a full deep dive because it's only week 4, but I would love to continue these discussions with some of the great folks in MCPS here on this call, so that we could develop a robust agenda, right? Not just around helping parents navigate, how do you navigate your child's integration into the public school system, but also how do you culturally assess the behavioral health needs of your children, because coming into a new country, we already know everybody carries their own trauma, and it's even more difficult. Trauma shows up differently in a child who is coming new to this country, and there could be a lot of pressure, a lot of things. So I think we need to develop a robust and interdisciplinary learning agenda to reach parents and also we know the cultural aspect around seeking services, around talking about behavioral health or discussing certain things. So I think there's room to develop a robust learning agenda, and then put in a strategy on how to engage parents in terms of how to navigate the system and how to support their children. Also informing on what are some developmentally appropriate responses and interventions to collaboratively work with parents, and also help, we talked about the peer-to-peer model, but also creating a peer-to-peer network for parents as well. So I think we just have a fantastic springboard to continue to do so much, because the foundation is already here, and we can only go up from here, which is fantastic to see. But I would love to continue to engage in those conversations.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Rice, who has a couple questions or thoughts. Chairman Rice.
Well, thank you very much. And it's not really a question as much as it is a comment. And I see Monica has her hand up as well, so I want to make sure we got to her also. But when you were talking about workforce development, it is pretty interesting in that we oftentimes, when a person comes to us and presents that they're struggling, we give them a number of things. And it's oftentimes things that help with supporting them, but not things that actually help them to support themselves, i.e. a job, and linking them to those kinds of things. Because as we talk about those hardworking individuals that come from these areas where they've decided to leave because they want more, those are the prime people in which we should challenge them with giving them those opportunities to help themselves to be successful. It is not just about lifting them up. They are lifting themselves up by leaving those situations that they found themselves in, right? And so we oftentimes are treating these individuals as they're the ones who need so much, when in reality, they've actually demonstrated how much they have to offer, which is why in my opening comments, I said what I said about how much they contribute to us. And so from that standpoint, I think it would be a best practice for us to start making sure that as a part of what we do, we give people those opportunities, because folks are looking to work. They worked in their home countries and they'll want to work here. And so it should be a standard practice for us, for any individual who's coming here, to make sure that we're linking them up with WorkSource and making sure that they have those opportunities to be self-sufficient and to help their families, whatever the case may be. So I just wanted to say that. And then when it comes to Dara, look, you are incredibly refreshing in terms of having this new vision and passion for making this happen. And it's important, right? Because we've been slogging at this for so long that it sometimes gets frustrating. You heard some of that frustration from Councilmember Navarro and saying, look, let's just get it done already. And it's similar to the conversation that we had earlier today at the first part of our joint committee. It's something that we've been working on for years, but I went back and I looked at high school wellness centers, and I saw back in 2013, then Council member Valerie Urban, who was leading the Education and Culture Committee, had a discussion around school wellness centers and how we needed to expand school wellness centers to every single school in the district. 2013, we're at 6, about to be 6. So we have some work to do, and it equates to everything. And it's not to say that the intentions weren't there. Everybody's intentions were in the right place. But the key is that, as you heard from Councilmember Navarro, and I just want to echo her sentiment, we've got to get this done now, and we've got to get it done right. We see, and I know my MCPS colleagues know exactly what I'm talking about. It's every single day I get a call about something else, to where we have another student, succumbing to the mental health pressures that we see that are surrounding us. And obviously that's not excluded to our students that are here, also those that are fleeing violence and all the other things that are out there, all the pressures and the norms of today's society that are very different. And so from that perspective, we've got to do more, and we've got to do it now. The more and the longer we extend these out, the more we make folks susceptible to so many of the pressures. It was always interesting whenever I had an argument with somebody about gangs, and I said, well, that's not the individual's fault. They said, what do you mean? They chose to be in it. I said, they're looking for something to do. They're looking for a family. They're looking for that welcoming presence. They're looking to make money, all of those things. And when we don't provide those opportunities, they are ingenious enough to seek out other opportunities. Unfortunately, they are illegal, and they come at a cost for us as a society. But if we don't think that folks are going to think about ways in which they can help support their families to do the things that they need to do, we're sadly mistaken. And so it's a failure just as much for us as it is for that individual making bad decisions. We all own it, right? And so from that perspective, we've got to do better. I really appreciate Luis Cardona chiming in and just saying, now is the time, we got to do it now. And so I'm with you, Mr. President, when it comes to whatever initiatives that we need to move forward that are bold and innovative and expensive, now is the time to invest. And so I really think that, especially when it comes to some of the best and brightest from around the world who choose to come here because they know that this is a place where they can actually spread their wings and survive, we want to nurture that. We want to support them in whatever way we can, because we know we all stand to benefit as a result. So back to you, sir.
Well said. Monica, I think you had your hand up for a previous question.
I did, actually. It was in response to your question, Council President Alvarez, about the family supports that currently exist. And I just wanted to, again, thank our executive and this large group and this joint committee for that special appropriation, because a lot of what was capacitated within HHS was also for families. I know we're very focused on youth, but it was definitely also a step in the right direction to help us support parents, sponsors, extended family, whoever it is that are the adults in some of these young people's lives. So whether that's the family support workers through the cluster projects, capacitating family case managers and linkages learning, capacitating identity, who does such comprehensive, right, family-focused, community-based work. There's been an extra dose of that that's really made a difference. I'm hearing directly about it from my cluster project direct service staff that report to me. We've got these care coordinators and behavioral health resource specialists, and now these family support workers that are just out in the community with families. All they're doing is doing whatever that parent, sponsor, grandparent, aunt, uncle needs in terms of helping with applications, in terms of helping to navigate the public transportation system, whatever it is they concretely need to get integrated and acclimated. So while, yes, we have patched together to capacitate what we had on the ground to do things quickly, and it may not be a consistent approach, with your support, we have certainly been able to support whole families in a very different way. Thank you.
That's well said. And, in the last two sessions, we said the 5.4 was a down payment, and that built off of the infrastructure that already existed. And I think you're now hearing clearly, where we want to go next, which is even bigger, because this sort of system building has never been more important than it is right now. As we're wrapping up here, we have about 9 minutes left. Ms. Harris or Ms. Silvestre, was there anything that you all wanted to mention or ask that hasn't yet been asked as we close this out? I'll start with Ms. Harris and then followed by Vice President Silvestre.
Thank you, Council President Albornoz. First of all, I just want to say what a huge fan I am of Mr. Cardona and his work. with PYD and the Street Outreach Network. I think you're doing amazing work in this county that is nowhere near celebrated enough, and we need to be partnering. I firmly believe myself that we need to do a much better job partnering, a much closer job partnering with the work inside the school system as well. And I'm really happy to see Mr. Alvarenga joining the team with his connections in the county and his organizing work and knowledge of how we can do a more substantive job of supporting our students and families where they are, instead of asking them to come to us, which is, I think, been too much the model over the years. And I am very interested, and I'm so grateful to what Councilmember Navarro had to say about how we focus more on serving newcomers, because we've been welcoming newcomers for quite some time now. And I think what we're seeing now is the way that we've looked to serve them, which has been scattered MET sites in many different schools, not all equal and not all with the same level of services, is not the best way that we could serve this really vibrant community of new arrivals to our county, and looking at how we can create, even if we're not creating newcomer schools, which some best practice communities like Oakland Unified and LA Unified have done. But even if we're not, creating these newcomer schools, creating comprehensive newcomer programs that we set into the schools where our newcomer students are joining us. Because I think one of the concerns I'm hearing that I've heard for a while is a resistance to creating really comprehensive newcomer services, because we don't want to isolate or segregate our newcomer students from the wider community of MCPS. But I think we could do both. And so having a really vibrant, inclusive, and collaborative and substantive newcomer program is not mutually exclusive. And so I'm all in to do everything I can to support that work. I'm so appreciative of what the county's done with the leadership of the council lately. I am so very happy to see Ms. Treadvance here, and to see Ms. Martin here, and to see, the Ms. Alfaro, who are our newcomer coordinators, and the work that you're doing. And I see we are at, I am always
thank you.
Full, and I see so much opportunity here, and I am really, really excited to see what we can do with it. And again, Councilmember Alvarez, so grateful for your leadership and your invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diego, I know you had your hand up, and I believe Everett, you did too. So, but first we're going to go to Carla and then go to you guys next to get the last word. Vice President Silvestre.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just want to echo your earlier point, President Albornoz, about, I think you based it in terms of tracking, but it's really accountability. How do we know that all of the work that we're doing is working and is reaching the students? So at the March board meeting, the MCPS folks on the Zoom are going to present the data that Dr. Norton has presented to you today, which was what we could think of to ask at the time when we started this work, which was attendance and grades. We can build out support services going forward, but bear with me here. If student X is not coming to school, student X's grades are going to be poor. What supports is student X accessing from MCPS, and what supports is student X accessing from the county? Is she getting legal services? Is she getting positive youth development? How are we going to know that? So as you work to marry these two systems together, think about it, at the March board meeting, we're going to know who's coming to school of these thousands of newcomers and who's not coming to school as the baseline indicator. If they're not coming, they're not going to have good grades. They're not going to get in touch with you all and your wonderful services. So how do we know this is working? How do we know we're reaching the students? If we don't build the accountability from the start, it's going to take years before we're able to report to this council what's working and what's not working. So thank you, President Albornoz.
Well said. Diego?
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just want to tell you what a pleasure it is to work in Montgomery County, particularly with people like you, like Craig, Will, Gabe, and others. The county has invested over decades creating capacity in the community, in the county, and in the school system. And as was said before, also building the relationships between those three areas. In terms of the parents, I want to remind you of what you've invested. In terms of the Wellness Center, it serves not just parents from the Wellness Center, but also from the cluster, Black, Brown, Asian, anyone who needs them. So it's a great model. I also want to remind you that some of the funding that you gave doubled the capacity of the community to run family reunification programs, and it also continued to empower parents. And I also do not want to miss what Bienestar has done in terms of it's a mental health crisis, and they enrolled people from the community to support other community members. And they also did the same thing with young people who became ambassadors, no? So it's young people running programs to reach other people. So I just want to remind ourselves that we have tremendous amount of resources. We piloted, we've evaluated this. Now we need to think more globally. But kudos to all of you for years building the infrastructure that would lead us and allow us to tackle these terrible challenges in a more comprehensive way. We have tremendous assets to do so. So thank you again.
Amen. And thank you, Diego, and your team. You've built quite a team. It's just some really dedicated professionals. Everett, last word, and then I'll wrap us up here.
Thank you, President Albornoz. I appreciate it. I wanted to circle back to what was shared earlier about the families. Your question, when we enroll, I always say that when we enroll students, we enroll families, not just the students. So it's important to keep that in mind, the supports that we provide to them. And so I just wanted to elevate, I know Ms. Borges was going to share this, but I'll go ahead and share on her behalf. That we do have opportunities that our team is planning right now for acculturation, for unification, for trauma, for our families, sessions that are being planned in consultation with Dr. Aguirre from the Latino Health Initiative. I think that's important that is known to our team here as well as to our audience that's viewing. In addition to our parent community coordinators who are working closely, as she mentioned, with our families as the teachers of our families. Helping them to be involved, to be engaged, and also ultimately we want them to be able to advocate for themselves as well. And so that team has grown by 10 so far. It's a work in progress, still hiring additional parent community coordinators, but just wanted that to be known to our team as well. Some of the collaborative partnerships and supports and resources that we're providing specifically to our families. So thank you.
Okay, great. That was amazing. So obviously there's so much more work to do, and this infrastructure has been remarkable, but I'm going to end this way. It's going to be a little cheesy, bear with me, but sometimes my colleagues have called me Mr. Rogers on the council, and Mr. Rogers has always said over time, to look for the helpers, look for people when a child is in crisis, just to tell the child, look for the helpers. This Zoom here, we are all the helpers, and many more that work with us and alongside us. And our kids have never needed us more than they do right now. So this particular session gives me a tremendous amount of hope, knowing how far we've come, that we've been able to shut out some of the noise, and there is noise about some of this work, and I'll just leave it at that. But let's acknowledge what's right, and what's right is what we're doing. So let's keep doing it. Let's build off of it. You have the complete and total support of this council. And as long as I'm around, you're going to have my support as well. So thank you all so much. We appreciate everyone. This has been a very robust session. Ms. McMillan, any last words before we close out? Great. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Through early June 2022. Due to a construction project, Emery Lane will be closed in both directions from Hollow Ridge Road to Muncaster Mill Road on or about November 16.